Welcome to For Your Amusement, a theme park podcast that aims to exhaustively evaluate the world's most popular theme park attractions. I'm Brian Bergara.
I'm Byron Marin.
And for this episode's featured attraction, Now You'll Deal With Me and All the Powers of My Imagination! To discuss one of my favorite theme park shows, Fantasmic, in Disneyland in Anaheim, California, in Hollywood Studios in Walt Disney World, Florida, and in Tokyo Disney Sea in Tokyo. And joining us on the Rivers of America is none other than Dan Becker from the YouTube channel Disney Dan.
Hello, boys. Welcome.
How you doing?
Thank you for dressing up.
Of course. Welcome, brethren, to the good word of Fantasmic. Any notion of it being poorly executed in any way, shape, or form shall be struck down, and only the holy commandments of Sorcerer Mickey shall persist.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you're here to bring that energy, because we may or may not have some nitpicks about Fantasmic, particularly one that might be across the way, maybe not on the West Coast. But hey, no shade here.
All right, pick it apart. Let's take it apart.
You look like if we're good today, you're going to hand us some diplomas at the end.
Oh, you're definitely going to get it. Yeah. Or I'm about to break a small Mickey-shaped communion wafer and let you sip from a tiny, Thanos hand golden goblet of wine.
No, you definitely look like you're about to deliver the keynote speech at some sort of Disney-themed commencement ceremony.
Hey, I wanted to come to represent the Fantasmic vibes, because I'll tell you what, there is no greater dopamine rush that I've ever gotten out of theme park than when Sorcerer Mickey comes flying out of the roof of that shack. It is a spectacular moment. I'm getting the tangles just thinking about it, boys.
It is an incredible moment.
It is an incredible moment.
Now, this is one of my favorite shows, and actually, before we get into that too, as always, make sure that you like and subscribe to this podcast. If you're watching this over on youtube.com/watcherpodcast, go ahead and hit that subscribe and like button. It helps us keep making this show. And if you're listening, go ahead and subscribe and rate the podcast 5 stars, because hey, why not? And if you don't like the show, you don't have to rate it.
Right, and it doesn't even matter what you write, guys. Just put 5 stars. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Make it a game. Write whatever kind of fantasy Nick fiction you want about the boys. Do whatever you want in there. It's a fair game, just as long as it's 5 stars.
Exactly.
Drop them 5 stars.
Look, you could lie. If you don't like the show, just put 5 stars. It doesn't even
100%.
hurt you. It doesn't even take just a
It's like
second out of
church.
your day.
Just be kind to one another. You know what I mean?
I just want to say that we do have the guest choose the attraction that we cover on this show. So, Dan, why Fantasmic?
Well, Fantasmic truly is the definition of the themed park. I mean, it is the culmination of all the things that it is. Yeah. You hear that the Disney parks call their employees cast members, and you hear that they call the parks a stage, and correct. Fantasmic is the definition of that. It is the quintessential immersive elevated experience inside of an already bubbled fantasy, that when it begins to unfold and you've just wandered into the park as a first-time visitor, you were like, what is going on? It's like being a teen in Twilight 4. You know what I mean? When the vampire rips off Carlisle's head. And you're shit. I can't believe we've culminated to this! Carlisle!
I can't believe they did that. I have not seen any of the Twilight films. I had no idea they just fucking
Dude, if I could time travel, I would only go to one place, and that would be to the premiere night of Twilight 4, and I would just...
That's the one place you go to?
Dude, just to sit in the theaters and watch the disdain and the horror, and then the ultimate relief that all these theaters would go through. Oh my gosh, forget the portals opening in Avengers.
Yeah.
That is not Carlisle's head getting ripped off in Twilight 4 was a moment, guys.
So what you're saying is, number 1, Mickey coming out of the shack at the end of Fantasmic. Number 2, Carlisle's head getting ripped off. And then number 3 would be anything else.
Shai Hulud, in Dune 2 or whatever,
I love this attraction as well, so I was very pleased when you picked it. Look, you already set the bar for the level of enthusiasm for this, so I'm happy here. We're already starting off to a piping hot start. And with that, why don't we get into some first impressions? Dan, let's start with you. What was your first impression of this show? If you could walk us through that. How old were you? What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I was in my early 20s. I was a reporter for Disney Infinity that Toys to Life game.
Okay.
I had a
Yeah.
website for Disney Infinity,
Yeah.
and they had these like annual events where they would bring together the best like Fortnite creatives of that game that would like make toy boxes for it, and they have a competition.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
I just got invited. I just had a website that was about Disney Infinity. Like, you want to come take pictures? I was like,
Yeah.
sure. You know, and so like they took us into Walt's, like it was my first time at Disneyland, you know. They took us into Walt's apartment. They gave us, it was back when they had those color lights and wands. You could change each other's hats. You know what I mean? So everyone was
I
like
remember those.
blasting
Yeah, I
each
remember
other with
those,
like the color wands, you know. It was we were all living a true fantasy. And then like they walked us back to the rivers of America, where earlier in the day I had been, you know, prancing around. I got on Tom Sawyer's. I have to get rid of this hat. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
My head hurts
he
so
mentioned
much.
earlier that his hat was squeezing his head.
It's
Which
a
one-
Disney on Ice children's Mickey Sorcerer.
Also, for all the listeners of this who aren't watching the video version of this podcast, Dan has an immaculate background, just chock full of Easter eggs. We see what as the hunt. We have the stretching lady who's sitting on top of the tombstone.
The
in
stretching
haunt-
lady body pillow.
Yeah,
I
in,
got
in
that
the
off
haunted
Etsy.
mansion. Oh, that's a body pillow.
It's a hilarious.
That's twisted. That's absolutely twisted.
It's the body pillow. Yeah.
And then we got what looks like a country bear from the Country Bear Jamboree.
Yeah,
and then
Big
it
Al.
looks
He's
like
my uncle.
Dan has beheaded Gonzo from the Muppets and propped his head
Fozzie.
up on top of a lava. Oh no, God, not Gonzo. You're right, Fozzie Bear. How could I have?
Yeah, Fozzie.
I mean, that's how
And
much
then
respect
I have a
for
picture of my
him.
parents here.
Mickey and Minnie. All right, very good.
And
Very
it's
good.
it's great. Yeah.
It took me like 1 second to actually process that. I was like, his
Right.
fucking parents aren't Mickey and Minnie.
But I was on the Mark Twain earlier the day. I was on that pirate ship. I walked around that island. I
That's
stood
awesome.
on the. I smelled what it smelled like around that shack. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was like it was. And then like now suddenly there's ropes everywhere. Everyone's like, everyone sit down. You know, like you don't know what's about to happen. And I had friends with me who were like cast members and like, Dan, just shut up and sit down. This is going to be great.
Oh, I'm sure because they saw cast member previews, I imagine.
And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. It was just, it blew me away as a piece of theater, as a piece of immersive theater. You can't get any better than that. You know what I mean? It's communal immersive theater. It's like an escape room that 7,000 people are doing at the same time. And we all get the same payoffs. And Mickey springs to life off on the top of the Mark Twain. And he's like black and white and like magical. And you can't find that Mickey like anywhere else you can't ever meet that black and white Mickey. It's like such like a unique Mickey. And then he like explodes out of the shack. It's just so crazy that like you have to consider there's a huge hollow like underground system underneath the rivers of America.
It's cavernous down there. Cavernous.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's crazy.
It's one of the more insane, I guess, seating arrangements or viewing arrangements that I've seen for a theme park show. It's not an amphitheater. There's no actual assigned seating. People are just kind of gathering around this riverbank.
There used to be some assigned seating with fast passes. There used to be, you know, and you could get dining packages with, you know, you get like a bowl of chili and a bread bowl or whatever, and you get, you know.
Yeah, but for the normal folk, for the most part, it felt like this very communal experience where people would just gather around the riverbank. Much like probably what would, you know, an
when Jesus showed up,
like a hootenanny or something like that. And instead, well, like Jesus, you mean Mickey and Jesus? What's the difference? You know what I'm talking about?
Like Jesus is over here. He's got 2 fish. He's like, come see what I'm going to do with these. You know,
every time he rises from the shack, I shout, "He has risen" to everybody and piss everybody off. For me,
blessings.
I actually, out of curiosity, what year was that? Do you recall what year that was?
That I was there.
For the first
like
time,
2012.
Oh, okay. So I later in the tenure, because like that was actually what, about 5 years before they revamped the show in 2017.
Yeah. So I got to see the OG one, which was arguably a lot more fun. I think, you know, Pirates is just
I think it's
you
better.
know.
I think it's better. I'm gonna seed that up top.
You Peter Pan. You think Johnny Depp is better than Peter Pan?
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll say this. We'll get into it a little bit later, but let's actually toss over to Byron for his first impression of this show.
Gosh, this would have been. Ugh.
Yeah, because Byron and I are SoCal kids. We grew up down the road from Disneyland,
amazing.
so we would go maybe once a year.
This was probably on my 8th birthday. Would be like the first time I remember experiencing Fantasmic.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like you spent the whole day. Let me see. I sent a Hail Mary text. We probably don't have one, but
to your mom.
Yep, didn't get it.
She doesn't
Not happening.
She doesn't love you, dude.
I'll unpack that later. And
Poor Byron. Pour one out for Byron, everyone.
but what I do remember from Fantasmic the first time is after, you know, I'm like 8 years old, you don't get as exhausted as the parents, yet the parents were very excited to get all us kids to Rivers of America early for this nighttime show. And I don't usually see parents with that much enthusiasm at like around 9 p.m. at night after a full day at the park. And
Until
it was
you
just
see us as
Fantasmic this, Fantasmic that. You gotta, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't remember the specifics of the show except for like probably the villain scene that really stuck out to me the most, because it's like the first time of like seeing like a lot of like horror elements in like a live show. There had been nothing close to this production value.
Yeah.
At a theme park. There was, there's no World of Color anywhere near the 90s.
There was no nighttime spectacular
You know.
anywhere nearby, at least in California. Maybe there was in Florida, but
I had not even seen Waterworld at that time. Like
shame.
fireworks, not so memorable to me as a kid, but Fantasmic very much so. It's I don't know. I feel like in many ways it's still ahead of its time for what it's capable of doing. I mean, you got pyrotechnics, you got like lasers on the mist, screens. It's got its own, unique score along with, Disney classic tunes. It's live actors working with all of that. I was blown away.
No, I mean, I would have to agree with that. I actually remember this show from when I was like a very small child, because one of my first memories was going to Disneyland when I was like 3 in like 1993. And the show came out in 92, I believe.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty new show. I don't know if it was that trip or somewhere around there. Maybe it was 4. But and this is going to be very goofy, what I'm about to say. So I'm just going to say that as a precursor.
It's a safe space here, right?
Anybody who's listening to this, they're going to be rolling their eyes out of their skull right now. But to me, this was my first kind of experience with theater, like live theater. It's a theme park show. That's fair.
Oh, wow.
But I will say it's the first time I've really seen like a performance put on by a cast of characters and they're telling an original story. And I just remember being just transfixed by it. I remember when we were kids, we loved the show so much, we loved the score so much that we had memorized the beats of the show, and we had a little blow-up pool in our backyard, and we would pretend to be Sorcerer Mickey, and we'd have the theme, because we had the little the little cassette tape that you would play that actually had the Fantasmic score on it, and we had a little boombox. I think it was one of those little kid boomboxes, and we would play it in the backyard and and go along to the show, just because. It's just like, I just remember the one thing that I took away from it as a kid was being so mystified by seeing the Sorcerer Mickey up there, moving his arms and conducting like water fountains to his movements and fireworks. I just never had seen anything like it. And I also do remember it was the first show to make me feel scared, just because this actually has a horror second half to the show.
Sure does.
There's the dream portion, and then there's the nightmare portion. And up to this point, I had never really seen something, at least in person, that was like, we're going to lean into a nightmare. And it was also late at night. The showings are at 9 p.m., 10. I think sometimes they play a show at 10:30 if they're up to it. And as a kid, you're not used to staying up that late. So staying up that late and then seeing this fucking dragon form on stage, you're like, Jesus Christ, we're all going to die. It was amazing. I loved the show, and I've loved it ever since. And it still holds like a very special place in my heart. Especially when I see it now, there are certain moments that still make me feel like a kid again. So I'm super stoked that we're talking about this show. And with that, we're gonna hop into some history right now. And Dan's gonna take a chill pill. He's gonna go.
Oh no, they're about to put me away! Help me!
He's gonna take a break.
Help! I don't want to go in there.
No,
There's a clown in there, man. He's making balloon animals, but none of them look right.
You got it.
Don't put me in there.
Away. Just lock the door. Lock the door. Okay, we're going to do some history while Dan is locked away.
We're really sparing him for a few minutes.
We're going to spare him for a little bit, and then Dan is going to come right back after the history, and then we're going to get into some fun facts. But let's get into the history, Byron.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place, all on your terms. If you've ever tried to even update HTML code or CSS without web skills, you know that you practically need a degree just to figure out what I even just said, but Squarespace does it all for you. Start a completely personalized website with the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. Choose from professionally curated layout and styling options to build a unique online presence from the ground up. tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device. I like to talk about Squarespace as the Fantasmic of website platforms. Squarespace has been here, proving its value for years. Our producer Matt over here has been a Squarespace user for 15 years. Of course, staying up to date on the latest styles can be difficult, but just like Fantasmic is always updating with the times, Squarespace updates their themes and templates often, so you can be sure your website will look as sleek as the best of them. With Fluid Engine, the next generation website editor from Squarespace, it's never been easier for anyone to unlock unbreakable creativity. Choose your website starting point and customize every design detail with reimagined drag and drop technology for desktop or mobile. Stretch your imagination online with Fluid Engine, included in any new Squarespace site. Easily launch your website and get discovered fast with integrated, optimized SEO tools so you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. Or easily manage your clients and invoices, from vetting leads to receiving payment via invoices in one streamlined, customizable workflow. Or maybe you're a content creator. Upload video content, organize your video library, and showcase your content on beautiful video pages. Whatever your needs, Squarespace is there to work for you. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/FYA to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. January 30th, 1988, Illuminations debuts on Epcot's World Showcase Lagoon. Although it wasn't the first nighttime show to take place on this lagoon, it would inherit the water screen projections introduced in its predecessor, Laserphonic Fantasy. Illuminations would take these effects to new heights and gain instant popularity, which would result in a massive increase in World Showcase attendance. All the ka-ching generated from the increased dining reservations and entertained guests at World Showcase would quickly catch the ear of Disney CEO Michael Eisner, which results in him greenlighting a nighttime spectacular show to take place over at Disneyland's River of America, using Tom Sawyer's Island as its main stage, which was an idea originally cooked up via Disneyland's entertainment department back in 1981.
By the way, I believe it's Rivers of America, not River.
Whoopsies.
It's
Did I not say rivers?
It's multiple rivers all combined into that one river.
I didn't have a typo here. It's just a little slip of the tongue.
I expected more from you.
All one Rivers of America. It's a nice big loop for you, which was originally cooked up via Disneyland's entertainment department back in 1981, but failed to get the go-ahead from then CEO Card Walker due to the company's financial struggles at the time.
Yes.
But two concepts following this green light were resurrected from the early 80s, one being a river haunt show that would blend the themes of Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Big Thunder Mountain, and another simply being a live orchestra-led performance inspired by the 1940 Disney animated film Fantasia. Ideas from each of these concepts would find their way into what was originally announced as the Imagination River Spectacular, with Disney's parade and show guru Barnett Ritchie coming on to direct the project. It's important to note that Ritchie was no stranger to Rivers of America, as she had previously choreographed the Rolling River Review. She was also no stranger to choreographing kick-ass shows such as Main Street Electrical Parade.
You can go see a special effects show, but you don't always come away feeling anything from the special effects show. But because we have a storyline and we have characters that people care about, that's important.
It is also important to note that Bruce Healey, the composer of Illuminations, was brought in to compose the music for this project. The Rivers of America would be drained to make way for construction in September of 1991. The face of Tom Sawyer's Island would get retrofitted in order to look authentically Tom Sawyer by day, but spectacular by night. In order to make the show exactly that, Barnett Ritchie and her team would integrate the mist projector technology introduced at Epcot with laser, water, and pyrotechnic features, all brought home with the addition of live performers to create the nighttime spectacular show we are discussing today, Fantasmic. And here's a quote from Ritchie in regards to Fantasmic and its name. "We spent 3 months of all-nighters out there on the river programming all the effects and meticulously finessing the timing based on the time code of the film. Every burst of water, pyrotechnic, laser, and live element had to be exactly timed and rehearsed to be in sync with what happened on the screen and with the fantastic musical score. But everyone felt it needed a stronger title. we got a big dictionary down from Michael Eisner's bookshelf and started going through it page by page. We both...
Sorry, I'm a child. I just couldn't stop laughing at you saying, we got a big dictionary.
Can't hold them back. Can't hold them back.
I'm sorry. It's just the way you said it. Maybe it's just like, I'm sure you do have a big dictionary.
All right. In Richie's words, we both kept throwing out names and rejecting them. Finally, we had reached the P's, and Michael threw out Phantasmagoria. It immediately intrigued us both. The meaning related. It had the right feel. We liked it. I took it to Bog McTire, Mike Davis, and Henry Caroselli, the advertising art director, and a week later took the first logo concept for Fantasmic back to Michael. And the rest is showbiz history.
That makes more sense. I gotta say, if we were in a brainstorm session and you were like, oh, I know what we should call the show. I got it right here. Phantasmagoria. I tell you to leave. It's a bad name.
No, they had to give it a little,
I guess you need a bad idea to lead to a good idea sometimes.
I'm sure what probably happened is like, ooh, like something about this. This is weird though.
Yeah.
Let's go cook this up. At least we could create this into something we can trademark.
Thank God they had that huge dictionary.
Hey, this is this is like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
So April 29th, 1992. Fantasmic is set to debut for the media. However, this would be the very day that the LAPD officers involved in the Rodney King beatings would be acquitted, resulting in the LA riots.
Oh.
Disney would aptly postpone the debut of Fantasmic just hours prior to its scheduled start time. 2 weeks later, on May 13th of 1992, Fantasmic would premiere at Disneyland to rave reviews and 3 performances a night, all filled to the brim with 8,000 guests in attendance per show. The success of Fantasmic would quickly prompt Michael Eisner and Disney execs to begin thinking of ways to bring a new nighttime show over to Walt Disney World. But, afraid of running into many of the crowd control hurdles that Disneyland was dealing with, it was decided that Magic Kingdom would not be the park of choice to host the second iteration of this nighttime show. And with Epcot still experiencing a high level of success with Illuminations, it was determined that Disney World's third park, MGM Studios, or that's what it was named at the time, would be the most suitable place for this to happen. October 15th, 1998, MGM Studios debuts the second iteration of Fantasmic, which is accomplished by building a 15-acre amphitheater specifically for the show.
A magnificent battle between good and evil is coming to the Disney MGM Studios. It's Fantasmic, the new nighttime spectacular starting this fall.
November 13th, 2010, Tokyo Disney Sea ends their nighttime show Bravissimo after a respectable 6-year run.
That's an amazing show title, by the way.
Right, and
I want to see that. I don't know what it is. Bravissimo.
And the C in Bravissimo is all caps SEA.
Oh, it's SEA. Oh, that's great.
So Bravissimo.
Oh, damn. That's a good title.
Mm-hmm. And although it was like, apparently this was like a good show.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, it's something about like Tokyo or the Tokyo parks, or maybe it's in the culture, but they don't like running shows too long, even if they're really good. They like taking them out on a high note. But staying true to Disney Sea's reputation of retiring their shows on a high note, Fantasmic would end its run there in 2020 and has since been replaced with a new nighttime show entitled Believe, Sea of Dreams. And although Disney World's rendition of Fantasmic has remained pretty similar to how it debuted, it did get a 2022 enhancement which includes some of Disney's more recent films, such as Moana and Frozen. Disneyland's version, however, would experience various changes and enhancements through the years, including the introduction of a 45-foot-tall Maleficent dragon animatronic in September of 2009, which was delayed numerous times and nicknamed accordingly to Murphy due to its unreliability. And I'm sure we'll talk about later in the show.
Yeah, we're going to mention this again.
We haven't mentioned is that this, it's the original version was a massive head on what you would say it was like a cherry picker.
A cherry picker, yeah.
2017 effects and story elements throughout the show are updated, such as the addition of Pirates of the Caribbean and a new Aladdin scene. April 22nd, 2023, Murphy catches on fire.
Your attention, please. Due to unforeseen circumstances, this performance of Fantasmic cannot continue.
This results in a lengthy hiatus for Fantasmic, which we are still experiencing to this very day. But fret not, because on November 8th of 2023, Disney Parks announced that a new version of Fantasmic would return to Disneyland on May 24th of 2024, aka about a month out from the recording of this episode.
So we'll see. We'll get to the bottom of it. Anyways, thank you for the history. Now let's get into some fun facts, and let's welcome Dan back to the Tiki Room.
Now picture this. You had an incredible day at the park, the sun has set, and you just watched the incredible show that is Fantasmic. You head home, but the whole family is still hungry. And the last thing you want to do after a whole day in the park is put more junk in your body. Well, with Green Chef, that could never be me. Green Chef makes eating well easy with plans to fit every lifestyle. Whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals, Green Chef offers a range of recipes to suit your preferences. Each week, choose from 80 plus flavor-packed options. Easily customize your meals to suit your lifestyle with preferences like keto, vegan, vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean, gluten-free, and protein-packed. Green Chef delivers everything you need to eat clean the easy way. Nourish your body with chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes packed with clean ingredients that support your healthy lifestyle and taste great too. So you can eat good and enjoy doing it. Green Chef delivers everything you need to make convenient, wholesome, and delicious meals directly to your doorstep. Each meal kit includes pre-measured ingredients, some produce, pre-chopped, and custom sauces pre-made in-house. You don't have to think at all. And get this, Green Chef has you covered while you're at the park. What? How could that be? Well, with their protein pack, egg bites, and clean sweet treats, they can keep you fed all day long. Don't miss Skinny Dipped and Honey Mama's guilt-free chocolate. Go to greenchef.com/FYA50 and use code FYA50 as in FYA50 to get 50% off plus 20% off your next 2 months.
All right, and we're back. Hello, Dan. What? How was your stay?
Thank you.
In the For Your Amusement closet.
I did not like it in there.
Into.
I did not. I ended up kissing 3 people. I don't know who they were.
That's probably Mickey and Minnie down there, dude. We got all of them. Or Goofy.
Ghosts, man. They were ghosts. They were the ghosts of somebody.
No, I haven't killed them yet.
We'll do some questions later.
Let's get into some fun facts. The show is approximately 27 minutes long at Disneyland and 29 minutes long at Hollywood Studios. And now, I'd also want to say up top here, because I forgot to say it, we're going to be primarily talking about the Disneyland version and to an extent the Hollywood Studios version. I have never seen the Tokyo Disney Sea version, nor have I watched it on YouTube. I don't like watching stuff on YouTube before I've seen it. I'm going to Japan, though, in October, so I will see it then.
No, you won't.
I won't?
Not Fantasmic, no.
Is it gone?
It's Believe now.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, the Tokyo Disney Sea replaces them every few years.
Fantasmic was like a theme, was like a property or franchise like Wish would have been for Tokyo. And so it started as a parade that fit the Fantalusion parade that had all the elements of Fantasmic.
What's the name of that?
And then that evolved into the big Tokyo Sea when they had the big sea lagoon.
Gotcha.
Then it became but it was with no disrespect, a bastardized version of it that kind of just leaned into whatever kind of tools they could have. Maleficent came out of the lake. The volcano erupted when she breathed fire.
Oh, that's
but it was
cool.
but it was boats. It was like a boat. It was like a Epcot
it's all
boat
barges.
show.
Yeah,
it's barges. It's like Animal Kingdom thing.
But yeah, we're going to be talking about mainly the Disneyland and the Hollywood Studios version, because I guess the Tokyo Disney version is now defunct. And we'll leave that to our guy, Defunct.
And Kevin's not here.
Kevin is not here. He's down in the basement that we have. We lock all of our guests down in the basement after. That's why they never make content after.
Yeah, if you're making out with a skeleton down there, it might have been him.
It might have been Kevin Purge.
I was real hopeful. I was, on the fence because I was like, maybe I should just be the skeleton. Maybe I say, hey, I don't want to be on camera. Maybe I'll be the skeleton. I'll look thin. Everyone will think nice,
Hey, you sort through your kinks on your own time, man. We're talking about Fantasmic.
Okay.
All right, moving on with some more fun facts here. 27 minutes long at Disneyland, 29 minutes long at Hollywood Studios. For what? And for what? 2 extra minutes to be mediocre? Just kidding. I'm just kidding. And with the former holding roughly 10,000 people around the rivers of America, while the latter is hosted in an amphitheater and can accommodate about 10,000 guests as well. But 6,900 are seated and the rest are standing. You could argue about which one is the better version. I personally like the crowding around the rivers of America. It's more unique, in my opinion.
Very communal.
Also, the show is better at Disneyland, so there's that. That's a fun fact. Next fun fact, the show initially cost $30 million to develop in Disneyland, and in Walt Disney World, it said that each showing cost Disney $30,000 alone, adding up to $21.9 million a year for 2 showings a night. I couldn't find a cost per show number for Disneyland, but I do imagine it's around there. That's an insane figure. $30,000 per show, per showing.
Yeah. Yeah, and the development of it really centered around those screens. The screens that projected stuff on them, like, was like the moneymaker for the nighttime, like, you know, like specialty show. And so once they had that with World of Color, you know, like once they developed that technology, like they just started throwing those things all over the place. But Fantasmic, they really told a story with it. And so, you know, a pretty good investment. But it's crazy that it costs nearly the same initial investment to run it every year.
No, it's crazy. And also another note on those screens, the screens that they use over in Walt Disney World. Here's a fun fact about those. The 3 mist screens featured in Walt Disney World atomize 800 gallons of water per minute just to accomplish the effect of the mist screens. The thing, too, about the screens is I actually thought they developed the screens for this attraction, when in reality, they actually found the screens over in France. There was a show called the Aquatique Show that was the first to use these water screens in the late 80s. Pretty crazy tech. They searched far and few between just to find the technology for these mist screens. So
they're incredible devices.
It kind of shows you like the lengths that Imagineers are willing to go in terms of research just to find solutions for something like how are we going to have screens on a river. So really cool.
And I think something about like 10 years prior to Fantasmic debuting, the woman who choreographed it, she was attempting to bring those mist screens to like a show in front of the Sleeping Beauty Castle for a completely different show. I think it was for an anniversary or something of that sort. So it was just kind of on the back burner. And she
like the moat,
that.
like using the moats out front.
That would be my best guess. I don't know where else you'd put it. Like,
I don't know. Next fun fact: the 45-foot tall, 28-foot wide, and approximately 18,000-pound animatronic dragon, dubbed Murphy by fans, in reference to Murphy's Law, if anything can go wrong, was marred by malfunction far before its head exploded, before going fully ablaze in April 2023. His intro was actually scheduled for a marketing campaign dubbed the Summer Nightastic in summer 2009, of which Murphy was the star of that campaign, yet he actually didn't even appear in the summer at all.
That's right.
There was technical delays that made his first appearance be on September 1st. He malfunctioned frequently throughout his life, including one incident which went viral on August 28th, 2010, nearly a year after his unveiling, in which Murphy just completely fell forward, an 18,000-pound animatronic just falling forward, almost into the rivers of America. Really funny to watch. Kind of scary, actually, because I remember when I saw that clip, all I was thinking is like, well, fire comes out of this dragon's mouth. And if fire is coming out of the mouth while it fell forward, is there like a possibility that like the Mickey actor would just get absolutely torched? It was just a scary thing because that dragon was scary. It still is scary. It's even scarier now that it doesn't have a head. But yeah.
It's a huge piece of equipment. Imagine like walking by a crane, like in a city, or something, delivering at a construction site and witnessing the crane falling over in front of you and being like, am I far enough away? And what's going to happen to the people who are close by? It's huge. It's a huge piece of, it's dressed up to look like a dragon, but it's just a piece of like industrial machinery,
I thought for a second you were going to say like, imagine you were in a city and you were looking at a crane, except it was a dragon. Yeah. And they were using a dragon to construct buildings. I'd be like, that would be scary, Dan. That would be fucking... If I turned the corner and then like in front of a Whole Foods that they were constructing, there was a fucking dragon.
I think that's
with,
what
like,
Game of Thrones is about,
mouth,
man.
I would start running so goddamn fast. But I have a thing too with large animatronics. I get this also with the giant animatronic of the Indominus Rex over at Universal Studios. There's just something about them that I find very unsettling, and I don't know quite what it is. Like I could internalize the fact that it's a robot, but if I had to stand in front of it, I would have a severe case of the willies. Like,
yeah, it's nice to be in motion near it.
Yeah, there's a word for that. I can't remember what it is. It's probably something along the lines of gigantophobia or some shit like that. I just made that up, but there should be a word for that, and I think there is. Anyways, Murphy caught on fire. Everybody knows this. It was very sad. Gotta say, though, the pictures of his Viking funeral, pretty metal. There was one I remember that was like just his full body ablaze. someone had taken it with like a high quality camera. It was going around on Twitter. Very, very, very crazy image. Were you sad? Were you guys sad when he caught on fire?
I didn't process it properly. I thought that for whatever reason they'd be able to like brush it off and like it would come back a couple weeks later. Little did I know,
Okay,
we
that's
are
what that
still
means.
experiencing the hiatus.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I guess I didn't really have an emotional connection to this dragon. I know some folks did because he was around for like the better part of a decade, but I also never really minded the original dragon that was basically just like a head on top of a cherry picker.
Yeah, exactly. Like we grew up with that, so.
And Dan, you had never seen that dragon then, like in person.
No, I hadn't seen the original dragon in person, and I got the vibe of it over in Hollywood Studios, but I had
That's
only
correct.
known Murphy. I'd only really known Murphy, and I remember when it happened. I remember being like super impressed by the one cast member who ran out there pretty aggressively with a fire extinguisher. I was like, I'm gonna get this, guys. I'm gonna get this.
Wait.
If you rewatch the videos,
I didn't see that.
If you
Wait,
rewatch
really?
the videos, there's one cast member as it starts to burn. He's out there, man. He's blasting it, and it's too late. It's too late. It's too late. But he tries, man. He tries. So
Are you
it's-
sure? Are you
Is
sure
he
that's not
screaming
the?
Murphy like a Harvey Dent screams Rachel when he's catching on fire?
Yeah. Are you sure?
Murphy! Murphy!
It's the like lead engineer on the animatronic. My baby, my baby.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. That's a bold thing to do if you have this giant piece of equipment essentially malfunctioning, ablaze, shooting fire out. Your first move is to go out there with a fire extinguisher. Like, how you gonna put out his toe? I don't know what you're gonna accomplish with that.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad that it burnt up, and I'm very, very interested to see what is going to happen when the show comes back, and like what will be what is the answer to that?
I
what's
think
gonna
it's
happen?
probably going to be cherry picker mode again. I mean, look, we've seen the B mode version of Murphy quite a lot because that dragon, like I said, was always malfunctioning. So they have the B mode where it's just the mist screen and it just shows the dragon animation, and you just get the Maleficent going up on the little 45-foot tower that she has.
Are we going to talk about Maleficent?
We are actually. I was just about to get into that.
Okay, great.
So Maleficent rises 45 feet into the air in 17 seconds before transforming into the dragon, which is either the animatronic Murphy or before it was a head on top of a cherry picker. Who's to say what's going to happen? We're recording this before Fantasmic returns in May. We're recording this right now in April 2024. Fantasmic is returning May 2024. So we don't really know what's going to happen as of the time of this recording. So I'm very curious what they do. Do. I gotta say, and I hate to admit this, the first thought I had when I saw that dragon on fire on Twitter was not like, oh, what a bummer. I was furious that I was not there that night. That was the first thought. I was
True content creator, my friend.
But anyways, moving on. Maleficent's original costume that covers the entire length of that 45 feet as she grows up in length over on the stage, that costume cost a fair amount of money. Do you guys have any guesses how much that costume cost?
I want to say 14 grand.
Damn, I was gonna say 18 grand.
$33,000. And this is in
Wow.
1992.
Wow.
And they had two of them, one for a
Wow.
backup. So I don't know what that is for inflation, but it's a lot of money. That's a lot of coin
Many
for-
money.
for a giant dress. Someone should get that dress and wear it to the Met Gala and just fucking drag that thing for 100 feet behind them. Because that covered 45 feet into the air. I don't think, like,
It's
I'm
pretty
trying
wild.
to like kind of communicate the scale of how big this costume was and how heavy it was. The costume weighed, how much you want to guess how much it weighed?
Oh, I want 300 pounds.
Actually, Byron.
I was gonna go like 180.
Now I'm starting to think it wasn't that heavy because it weighed 45 pounds, which I think is
Oh,
pretty
wow.
impressive. It's pretty heavy still, like 45
Yeah.
pounds on top of your body, a lot. But for the length of it, pretty impressive. They actually did make a newer, lighter costume 2 years after opening in 1994. I don't actually know how much that weighed, but the original weighed 45 pounds. The 3 mist screens featured in Disneyland measure in at 60 feet wide and 30 feet tall, with 21 fountains and 6 whale tails that create the Monstro charging effect. All of this is hidden in the rivers of America, that has canoes and the Mark Twain running amok above it throughout the day, which is very impressive. The two 40-foot light towers that emerge at the beginning of the show are hidden 26 feet underground. So if you're doing some math, that's a lot of space. 40 feet just in the length of themselves, and then they're also 26 feet down into the ground beyond that. And those bad boys, of course, come up at the beginning of the show as the opening notes are playing. And speaking of that opening note, the high-pitched hum at the beginning of the show is accomplished by running a bow back and forth along the edge of a key on a vibraphone. It's a very distinct noise that any Disney fan would know, and it gets you super pumped. Just that opening, we could play a little bit of it right now. You guys know what I'm talking about? That little hum
absolutely.
At the beginning.
I'm just thinking about it and I'm tingling.
Yeah, and then it has like the little, like little, like what I guess that's like Tinkerbell.
Right, which in New Fantasmic they like visualized in all that projection mapping. Like they gave it like a visual body. I didn't need that. Like that could have just lived in my mind.
I actually agree with you. I think I do like the projection mapping. We could get into this later in the good and the bad, but just really quickly, I do like the projection mapping, but I think it could have been used a little more sparingly. Because I do like the idea, because the whole show's about imagination. Yeah. Why not have just some like kind of ambient noise in darkness so that you could kind of imagine what's going on? I agree. I agree with that.
And I have a fun fact about Maleficent, if I may.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
It's my favorite drag queen at a Disney park because by and large, Maleficent is performed by a man. Because, as you've mentioned, it's a 45-pound costume with pyrotechnic specialty certification required because of the wand that is being used. And so often it is a very tall, muscular, buff dude.
6 feet usually 6 feet.
And who's a good, strong dancer, cheerleader type. And he's up there killing it every night, detailed, contoured.
Making Mickey Mouse
painted
explode.
for the gods.
That's a good point. Because there is a physical kind of toll that playing that part takes, and so usually that cast member is typically portrayed by a male.
Speaking of the Maleficent performers, do anyone remember seeing the clip in 1992 when it first came out and Michael Eisner was with the Maleficent performer?
Yes,
no, I got to see this.
Absolutely.
Now gather and grace the Fantasmic premiere!
This person is going for it.
Like, they're eating. They're chewing the scenery.
This is my one time on camera. Like they're probably playing to an audience too. So you got to give them credit for that.
Did you guys chat about the dedication of New Fantasyland? I don't know if you remember, but it was in front of the castle. They lowered the drawbridge and like all of Maleficent's goons came out. And like bizarrely over to the left on the lawn was this large like tented area that that just had like black tarps. And a woman portraying Maleficent was essentially lifted on a cherry picker with a huge piece of fabric draped over her to make it look like she was rising out of the moat to summon her goblins to stop the dedication of New Fantasyland. And it kind of like laid the seeds a lot for that moment in Fantasmic.
I wonder if that's the same costume.
Oh no, because this thing was wild looking, had mega long horns. It was a very, very specific Maleficent costume. I have a whole history on Maleficent looks in Disney parks. You could watch it right here. I don't know if you could really watch it right here, but if you Google it, I'm just so used to doing that in my videos.
You can, because this is on YouTube. If you're not familiar, Disney Dan, one of his specialties is actually going over costumes. In any of like the Disney productions or also the rides themselves. So if you're into that kind of content, head on over to his YouTube channel. He does really good in-depth coverage of that.
Maleficent has incredible history, including Disneyland Fun, the 1990 sing-along song. Like talk about like the horror of Fantasmic. It like echoes like a little bit of like, that like the kids are playing at Disneyland, having a good time. Pooh Bear wants waffles, whatever. And then suddenly it gets dark.
Boy, this place is creepy.
Yeah.
I wonder what weird things happen here at night.
The trees come to life, and Maleficent comes out, and she's got like a sweaty, wet, green face. It's like sparkly and she's like, ooh, and all the kids in the video are weird, and now I feel weird too, because I'm just like a little, like projection machine as a child, like ice monkey see monkey do. So now I'm scared. It's like the same whole vibe of Fantasmic really grabs that. Like it's getting spooky for a minute, guys, but don't worry, mom and dad are here.
Is that from the early 90s as well? Because they had some strange promotional material coming out. There's also a video of, I think it was called the Disney VHS Sing-Along, which a lot of kids probably watched.
I got nightmares from that haunted
The
mansion.
haunted mansion
That's what I'm
sequence.
talking about, boys. The Maleficent in that haunted mansion.
Yeah.
That's the,
and then her like
she's
little henchmen
horrific.
ghouls doing their little
That shit is an acid trip. We have trees dancing.
Did you know that they essentially dubbed it all in French and filmed the entire thing in Disneyland Paris over again with different kids and slightly different costumes?
I got to see that one because the French know scary.
If you buy the DVD of Disneyland Fun Sing-Along songs and you switch the audio to the French track, it will automatically switch it over to Disneyland Paris and play you the Disneyland Paris. It's like a little Easter egg if any of you have the DVD laying at home.
Moving on. The Steamboat Willie in the Walt Disney World show is 80 feet long and weighs approximately 35 tons, compared to the 105-foot long and 150-ton Mark Twain at Disneyland. So for once, we actually have something that's bigger and better at Disneyland. For the most part, usually Disney World beats us in scale, but not today. Not today.
Because we didn't have to build it.
Because we didn't have to build it.
We already had it.
We already had it.
The Mark Twain, though, it translates so well.
We built it in 1955. The Walt Disney World show features 25 crew members and 46 cast members filling 78 costumes, whereas Disneyland apparently features 50 crew members and 51 cast members filling out 341 costumes. Okay, so a lot of the costumes probably are coming in the Steamboat Willie portion and the Pirates fight sequence.
Absolutely.
Where are the rest of those costumes going out? 341. I find myself doubting that number.
You have all the segments of the snake. You have all of the segments of the leaf. You have all of this. Fantasmic is actually ran by the parade department at the park. So it's treated like a parade, which is why it doesn't have talking heads like the stage shows do, which is slightly maddening. So just think of it as parade units and think of it as like a parade that just happens in one place. And it's kind of exactly like that. Just these segments keep passing you by. So you are kind of blinded to how many things are constantly rotating before you. And also, there's like 15 people dressed like Mickey at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, so there's just lots of, Mickey himself has like 4 costume changes and 5 people have to be in that costume at the same time. So there's
he doesn't actually transport from the top of the of Tom
No,
Sawyer's
brethren,
Island down
I
to the
wouldn't
stage?
come here to lie to you about our holy Mickey and his
I don't
powers
believe it.
and what he's able to do.
Some imagination, though, huh?
Tell me about it.
No, but also the monkeys. There's the monkeys, and then there's all the princesses on the barge.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I guess it is starting to add up. I haven't really like sat down and wrote it out, but hey, look, if somebody out there wants to actually challenge that fun fact, go for it. It is a fun fact. The Ka snake in Disneyland is 100 feet long, and the Jafar snake in Walt Disney World is 120 feet long. They got us on the snake. I ain't gonna lie. They got us on the snake. Sure. Congratulations to Walt Disney World.
Sure, they have a longer snake, but their boat is so thin. There's such a thin boat.
It's about the girth. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we don't have any
keep
girth
your
measurement.
thin boat. We're going to keep our thick boat over at Disneyland.
That's right.
With our short snake.
Thick, DICC, our thick ass Mark
Yeah.
They do have a longer snake, but also they have a shittier show. So
yeah. So what are you gonna do?
And I apologize if there's any Walt Disney World kind of like gung ho folks out there that are like, I apologize to the Disney World apologists out there that are like, how dare you talk about my Fantasmic that way? Have you seen ours? Because
true, and they haven't.
Genuinely, it's for the most part considered superior in almost every single way. The scale unmatched. Anyways, and in the past of this show, we have done kind of like a showdown between two different show. Mummy, we did like, what's better, the Orlando or the Hollywood one? Honestly, that was kind of like a fool's errand because obviously the Orlando one's better. But in this particular case, I didn't even do that for this one, just because it's universally, for the most part, accepted online, it seems like, that the Disneyland version of Fantasmic is better than the Disney World version. Anyways, the Rivers of America are on fire for a startling 25 seconds in the show's finale. That's an eternity for something to be on fire in front of a live audience of about 10,000 people. Yeah. I never really thought about how dangerous that is, but it's kind of crazy that they pull that off 2 times a night. If you cruise on over to Critter Country before the show, you could apparently see the crew getting the ship ready for the pirate scene. And also, if you're there early before the show, if you keep your eyes peeled, you could also see the people getting dressed in the little flower petals for that portion of the show.
Yeah, there's a certain level of interactivity. Just in like Disneyland is not afraid to acknowledge that it's an operating amusement park
Correct.
behind a theme park, and I really love that about that.
Yeah.
And so there's like this charming level of accessibility to the fact that like, oh yeah, like we got to rig the ship. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we got to put on these massive freaking tarps with huge, rings in them that we're going to wear around as pedals. So I kind of love that. And if you have a kid and you take him to see that, it kind of demystifies the show in a little bit of a way. If they are hesitant about something about the show, be like, let me show you how they do it.
That's true. Yeah. You could see how the sausage is made, which is helpful when you see like Mickey explode on stage a couple times, because he does.
Right. He does.
I remember the first time I saw it, when Maleficent, blasts him and you just see the sparks where he was. I was like, Jesus! fucking murdered Mickey! It fucking killed Mickey. Holy shit, he just exploded. Imagine if you were a child, like 3 to 4 years old, you see Mickey explode, and then about 5 minutes later, you see a dragon's head explode and catch on fire. You would probably be scarred for life. You'd be like, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen. But you're right. There's like a community kind of theater, almost like the best version of a community theater production that you've ever seen, which I appreciate. And I know bad community theater.
Truly.
I remember one time I bought tickets to Into the Woods for my mom and I at the Amundsen, and I thought, this is a great gift. I'm a good son. We're going to go see the Broadway production of Into the Woods. We get there, and the stage was a little smaller than I thought, and I was like, oh, that's weird. I don't know how they fit that there. And then the first actor comes out, delivers a monologue, turns around, and turns back around and has a different face mask on, and then is a different character. And then I was like, now there's trouble. Now there's trouble in River City. This is not, I don't think this is the Into the Woods Broadway production.
With a capital T, and it rhymes with P, and that stands for pool.
Yeah. It was not good. It was not good, folks.
Now the next thing you know, your mom is not giving you presents at your next Christmas, whatever.
Byron's taking it home. I love it, Byron.
It was a two-man show.
Didn't think that one through.
And it was, I'm sure, a lovely production, but I do remember the searing heat of my mom turning her head towards me to kind of look at me. I just felt her looking at me like, what have you taken me to? So I know bad community theater. So, but yeah, this is great community theater. And then the last fun fact I have here, Mickey's fire fingers are activated by little buttons on hidden wristbands that the cast member pushes under his sleeves, like a magician.
Yeah.
This was also something that my brother and I would try and reenact. We would take the garden hose. And you know how when you were a kid, you could do a bunch of cool shit with the end of the garden hose? You put your thumb over the water, and you can make it kind of do fun little things. You can make it look like almost like a big lily pad if you make it.
And this is before kids had Avatar airbending. This is before before the Ninja Turtles had mysticism. We were just doing old fashioned fun. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Making lily pads with our garden hose on our thumbs.
That's right. And if I put my thumb in it really hard, it would look like the sparks flying out of the end of my fingers. It was very
those
good.
gloves were debuted in a commercial first, like a year or two prior for Disneyland. There's this very specific commercial where it pans down onto Mickey, and Mickey kind of like does his little thing and then gives like a little and like does like a magic firework to go. And so it came from a commercial. It was really cool gloves. I love watching on YouTube. There's a couple times you can see when they fail, and you can kind of watch like the safety hazard training that the performer inside. No. Like sometimes they'll fire. They won't fire off at the right time, or like he'll go to do it. They won't fire. And then like he's just, you see like clear as day, the safety training is if they do not fire, do not move. The lights will be down in 4 seconds. And then as soon as the lights are down, get out of there. But like there's been 1 or 2 clips where like the hands go off like, 4 seconds too late. So as the lights are still going down, the hands are still going off. It's those things are crazy. They're an amazing piece of tech, but they're crazy.
I can't even imagine how embarrassing it would be if I put out my arms like this on a music cue and then nothing came out, and I'm just standing there looking like I'm gonna. Well,
you're in a costume. Stage. No one can see you. You know what I mean? It's Mickey. Mickey's embarrassed, not you.
Just like, all right, it's embarrassing, but anyways, that does it for the fun facts. We're going to move on to the good and the bad, but before we do that, let's have a word from our sponsors. Let's get into the good and the bad. What are the good and bad things about this ride? And, you could expand upon any of these or deny them. But let's start with the good. We're going to start with the good. The first good I have written down here is the scale of this show in Disneyland, in particular, is unmatched. It truly is unmatched. I don't think I've ever seen a theme park show with this level of scale. You have the backdrop of Tom Sawyer Island, the Rivers of America, obviously incredible. The Mark Twain, the very much of, it's kind of a scale full-size steamship, which is kind of an oxymoron there, but it's a very large steamship. And then the Columbia Pirate Battle. and a full-scale animatronic dragon once upon a time. But just when you look at just like the breadth of ground that the show actually covers in its actual showing, it uses the full 180 degrees of that riverbank, which is incredible. I've never really quite seen anything like it.
Byron, you said you saw it. You were there to see it at Tokyo. Was that the same vibe? Because they literally use like the horizon of the park, like I said, with the volcano and whatnot. Like, did you feel that same level of like communal immersion? Like I feel like the tininess of Disneyland's little space really lends to it feeling so magical. But how does the Tokyo vibe feel?
Short answer would be the intimacy is not there. The spectacle is taken to 11.
Why is the intimacy not there?
Because it's such a larger, that Mediterranean harbor is so much bigger.
Yeah, it's like an Epcot nighttime show. Illuminous isn't intimate, you know what I mean? It's a spectacle. It's like an Olympic opening event.
Yeah, and then there is no stage. Everything is on the barges. So
it's a boat show.
It's impressive. It's a massive spectacle. Like, you know, if you've been to Disney Sea, like everything around you is gorgeous, but it doesn't have like what you're saying, that community theater feel. I'm not saying that I still think I would take Disneyland's, although I kind of grew up with that and I have a bit of that bias there. But I don't know. It was still really, really cool. I took a time lapse of Fantasmic for whatever reason. I might have to go dig that up and like overlay it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
If you just watch the time lapse, just like just all these insanely bright colors and big barges moving around.
Really quick too. Dan, you meant to say Illuminations, right?
Whatever it's called, Illuminous, Illuminations, Face
I think
the
it was
Nation.
called Harmonious at one point, and then it was Illuminations.
It was Harmonious right after.
Yeah, because they put those horrible barges.
Whatever
over
stupid ass thing that
hey,
Disney
look,
is
man,
adventure.
I'm just making sure. I'm just covering the bases.
Cover the bases, Ryan. It's okay. That's your job, man. Don't let me say you're not doing your job.
Otherwise, you're going back down in the basement with Kevin Perger and Jenny Nicholson, all of them all down there.
With all that being said, I'm pretty glad that Disney Sea has moved ahead with a different production at this point, because it's going to have all those really cool bells and whistles. What was really neat, though, now going back to Fantasmic, they had the dragon go through like a massive like prop mirror.
Oh,
at one point,
that's fucking dope.
Two huge rings, like they come out of the lake and make this huge ring.
The dragon was massive, and it did I remember going through a mirror. That was like the big, like, oh, that's different. That's really cool.
Oh man, I gotta check out some footage of that, especially if the show's now defunct.
Yeah.
But you know, another thing too is the scale of the Disneyland version is crazy, but it's still very close to where you're sitting. Like if you're at the front row of the Rivers of America, we're talking like you're probably 10 feet away from this pirate ship.
You're getting misty. You're getting damp.
But
yeah, you're feeling it.
You're feeling the scale
it's like
because
seeing
you're
Gallagher.
looking up at yeah, but you're looking up at it. Like that's the crazy part. Whereas like, you know, Disney Sea, it seems like you're a little farther away, which might be better at taking in the panorama. But you know, you want to be a little close to
Disney Sea. I was like, if anything, I was like looking down because I was like in these like castle walls along the harbor.
Oh no.
And you totally lose that in Hollywood studios when it becomes like Nickelodeon Guts, like the aggro crag, like, and you just feel like you're there for a taping and you're just waiting for the finale where three kids, different colors, you know, scale this thing. And then Pocahontas shows up.
It's kind of weird of it being in an amphitheater. It doesn't feel like an amphitheater show.
It completely disrupts the entire initial charm of Fantasmic, and that's the thing I can't get anyone to like buy into. Is like, oh, you had the idea, you had the ability to like hide a mountain in the back of like the park. Like, why wasn't the story like, Mickey cracked open, you know, like Sunset Boulevard, and like a mountain has grown out of it, and like just do like have the thing be like, oh wow, he put this big moat here to protect us, whatever it is. Rivers of America, it's like a playground where a musical is later performed on. It's crazy.
You know what it is too? That's a good point, is that they had the ability to build out space. They have the benefit of space over in Orlando, and yet they just put it in this kind of little theater. And Disneyland, I think you actually helped me touch on one of the reasons why I like the setup so much. Tom Sawyer's Island and the Rivers of America have existed since, well, at least Rivers of America have existed since the beginning of Disneyland. So they've been already there. And then they just kind of terraformed the show on top of what was already existing, which gives it this kind of feel that it just kind of appeared.
Yeah, not even terraformed on top of. underneath they
on top of,
you're
correct,
Jurassic
yes.
Park like dug out, like the bones of like like all the Native American tribes that have like Walt Disney drug in there to perform and built this huge basement.
I'm sure Walt will take that one back now.
No, it made him money. He loved it.
I gotta say too, like all like these fountains, the entire kind of inner workings of Fantasmic being in the rivers of America, and meanwhile we're writing the Mark Twain on top of it earlier in the day and writing canoes over it. That's incredible to think about because we're not writing canoes over the bay over in California Adventure over the World of Color setup. Like that's very much just like a kind of somewhat shallow pool of water. Like it just kind of shows you how big of a production Fantasmic is and an operation it is.
Now, if they would let you lazy river during World of Color,
shit.
and like it was daisy chain, they're all connected together, so you're kind of like a conga line, and it's just always moving.
That's
like
an idea.
around the fountains. Would you do it?
Oh, of course, I love a
you wear a
lazy
helmet
river.
or whatever.
I don't need a fucking helmet.
Do they give you a countdown?
It's a lazy river. It's not a roaring river.
Do they give you a countdown for when Murphy shoots the fire on the water? You got to get across.
No, he's talking about World of Color.
Oh, World of Color. Well, then what? You get they have pyrotechnics in that too.
That's true. I guess you'd probably get torched.
So a few of you leave without eyebrows, and a couple of you leave with a complimentary bidet. But what I'm about to offer you is once in a lifetime experience.
No, I gotta say, I mean, well, that'll also be a lovely scent to fill over the Pixar Pier, just the smell of burnt hair. But let's move on. Another good here. The opening of this show, iconic. It's an iconic opening. It's my favorite opening for any show, I think. You have the that little hum that I talked about earlier in the fun facts with the light towers emerging, and then the lights are kind of like just like swiping around. It's a really cool effect, and the music cue that goes along with that is fantastic. We'll play it right now. So good. So good. It really just gets you jazzed. And then you have Mickey popping up onto the stage from under the stage like Psy. You guys seen that video when he's down there just getting ready? I'm sure it's the
Mickey's
same
down there
thing.
doing Gangnam Style.
We should put Mickey's head over Psy from that viral video. It's crazy. It's an incredible start to a show, and it really sets the stage for the spectacle that's to follow. The first hit of those horns on the score, by the way, Mickey's coming out, he's doing some conducting, and then the first time the actual horns hit in the score, and it's accompanied by water going up and lights. Fucking amazing.
It's so credible that you keep comparing it to theater. Have you ever seen Phantom of the Opera? Because the opening of Phantom of the Opera is very immersive in similar ways that Fantasmic is, with the chandelier being plugged in and rising, and you're in a theater, and the show takes place in a theater, and so of course and like there's like that magic moment, like you said, of like Mickey rising, the chandelier rising. It's like this, like, oh, something crazy is about to happen. It's such a cool like stake in the ground of get ready.
No, that's a good point, because I have actually seen the Phantom of the Opera in New York. And yeah, I just love when a musical, or not a musical, I just love when a theater production, much like a horror film, I like when it punches you in the mouth from the very beginning, because it doesn't, I think Wes Craven said this about horror movies, like a great horror movie really only has to punch you in the mouth one time hard at the beginning, and they never have to hit you nearly as hard again until the very end. And I feel like Fantasmic does that. It immediately hits you in the face. And the rest of the show kind of, it's slowly kind of just ramping up to that ending. And its book ended perfectly with the Sorcerer Mickey, and then the little tuxedo Mickey at the beginning. So it's just a really well-constructed show. Also love the projection effects on the island. I mentioned that earlier. I think they're a little heavy-handed, so this could be a bad, but I think they do add something if they were to scale it back just a tad, because I wish the show actually had a little bit more darkness. I like the darkness in the beginning of the show.
How do you feel about the bedsheet they hang between the trees now for New Fantasmic to like receive the projection mapping of the sparkles? You notice that?
I actually didn't notice that.
They hang like a tarp. They like raise a tarp up 2 trees behind the behind the shack. And at night, like when it's dark out, you really can't see it. But as the show begins to progress, the whole area gets lit up and you can see it clear as day. There's like a bed sheet up above the shack now for the projections, which I do not like.
Well, I'm not gonna be able to unsee that now. So I guess you don't speak on it. If you
Yeah, well, we'll see if it comes back, right?
I mean, we'll see in May 2024. And then we have the transition into the beautiful string section of the score. I think it just goes, it's like that. It's lovely, lovely score. And then I believe that's also when we first see the flower on stage, which is, it's just incredible. The imagery in this show, I think why it hit so hard in the beginning, it was the first Disney show to lean into abstract imagery. Like, it wasn't just like, we're going to show you like fucking Aladdin here. Like, you know, we're not like, it was like,
you mean like they do now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's actually one of the problems I have with the show now. Whereas before, it was a little more abstract. There was original music and they would show you images that, you know, weren't quite from a Disney film.
It was playing with the whole Fantasia vibe, you know, the Fantasmic Fantasia.
Yes.
It was this kind of epic. We are on this journey and you really are communicated a lot of emotion through the orchestration of Fantasmic. There's an incredible amount of anticipation and themes are set up in the score and then just dropped right off. It's why everyone likes Happily Ever After too. Happily Ever After does the same thing. Lots of themes that we start up themes and then we stop them before you actually get the resolve of the song so that when it comes back at the end, holy smokes, baby, get going. You know, your brain is like, I've waited so long for this.
You're primed for it.
You nailed it. And my comparison for this was when you go to like a really, really good concert for like a band you like, and then you notice that besides their hit songs, they'll just go on these random riffs.
Oh, there'll be bridges in between, like,
and they'll
set
start
pieces.
jamming with each other and just kind of go off on this like musical journey. Like when like Elephants on Parade hit in like Fantasmic here, it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's
like
incredible.
that's actually a good comparison because like sometimes when you go see like a big band, like I went to go see Taylor Swift over the summer, in between like her hit songs, which she has like a bajillion, there were these little interludes in between the songs when she's like changing costumes or whatnot.
Where she literally did the Fantasmic Flower. Like
well,
she literally has a song.
As Mickey.
She has a song where she does the Fantasmic Flower. Like the beginning of the Eras tour is the Fantasmic Flower pedal bit.
Essentially,
like,
you're actually
those people
right.
come out and they're just flower petals and they all get around her and she's a flower.
You just, the point is you don't need to be playing hits the entire time.
Oh,
like,
right.
Like World of Color is doing, which is like, fine. That's what I love that show and I like it for that. But they've kind of like melded that ideology into the new version of Fantasmic, which is, I don't know if I love it. Also, I do think when the string portion of that section comes, actually, I think there's just like a fountain section there. The flower comes a little bit later, so just for correcting that. But next thing I have, Mickey Fire Hands. Hell yeah. Fun. Love it. Kids love that part. I'm always stoked to see them.
Which to add to that just Mickey is a show off in this show and it's perfect. I love it.
The way he little prances around.
He like as soon as you see to start the show, he just has this like in his energy. It's just like, yeah, I'm the guy. You're this is what you're here for, right?
Could you imagine how amazing that would feel to be in that costume and moving your hand like up like this, and when you do that, a firework goes off? The power you would feel. Obviously, it's choreography, but I would be up there like, this fucking rules. I'm like the master of the universe.
Yeah, it is.
And then he gets his
playground.
paycheck, and actually, is it all female actor?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I just know the Maleficent actor is usually a male, just because of the physical requirements of being 6 feet and being able to withstand the amount of weight on your body.
But to answer your question, Byron, yes, it's usually a tiny little dancer girl. You know, like they're you know, it's Minnie is the same. You know, Donald, Mickey, Minnie, and Daisy. They're all have to be these tiny little things. These 5'1" little things. You know, that's just what it is. Just what they are. They're just little dancers.
Fair enough. Water screen's iconic. Love the sorcerer theme being incorporated in the beginning and becoming a major wrapping device for the show. Kind of like Dan was saying, they seed themes early and then they pay them off later. There's nothing in the show that's seeded in the beginning that does not pay off later, which is really fun.
It's perfect for that. It's like thank you. It's all I wanted Lost to be.
I never saw Lost, and you know what? I don't want to look at anything for the ending, but
Ryan,
I know a lot of people.
I just say you're sitting in a room that makes it look like you've definitely watched Lost. I'm just saying.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll take that. Next good. Love the big ass snake. He's a fun guy. I love the lights that come out of his eyes, like his flashlight eyes. Really cool in the dark.
It's like the guy in Ghostbusters 2 after he checks on Dana, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like the Janusz, the baby's sleeping. He's like, okay, I'm just checking. You know, the door
Ghostbusters
closes.
2 ref.
You know what I mean? And then his eyes are like, so boom, you know?
I love it. I love light eyes. Also, great transition into the Pirates section. And actually, back in the day, I preferred the old transition, but it's a similar transition of, you know, Mickey going down the swirl. He's going, hey, who turned off all the lights?
Hey, what's going on? Uh-oh.
Before, it used to be the big boom of the Peter Pan ship that would wake you up. And now it's actually this, like, Barbossa talking to camera, which is also cool in its own right. I just prefer the old one.
Well, I love it. Any opportunity to flex Jeffrey Rush, please.
You must start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one. More lights!
Rough seas ahead, Jack!
And the lighting in that is really cool.
It is very cool.
The pirate show scene is very impressive. It's basically a giant moving stage. I don't think... I'm trying to think of another theme park where you could see something like that. Even my favorite theme park show of all time, Waterworld, it's all stationary for the most part. Like, they're on boats moving around, but like there's not like a giant literal moving stage that is, you know, the sailing ship Columbia. I do like Pan better. I think it's a better. I think it just is a more whimsical IP for the show. But
it is. I like Pan so much better. I think it just lends to the vibe of the park. But
I agree.
I do think that there is a certain sort of magic about, like, if you can time it right, like hopping on pirates and like riding the ride to like come out when there's like a pirate battle going on, like or wait for Fantasmic for the pirates to start fighting and then like go in and ride the ride. Like that just like tickles my brain holes, guys. I don't know what to say.
Your
like,
brain holes? Why do you have holes in your brain?
Great. There's so many. It's riddled for my ADD. There's just so many gaping holes of just nothing there. Sorry.
Hey man, they're plugged by Fantasmic though.
They are. They truly. It was leaking until I came upon Fantasmic.
And what I love about the sailing ship Columbia coming in, first off, of course, once again, another attraction that you could ride during the day.
Exactly.
But it comes out of nowhere. I don't know why. I'm never like.
It's very well hidden behind the screens.
A massive
it's very dark
ship, and yet, like, I don't until like you hear the boom in the camera. Like, I guess like
they don't do the boom anymore.
Well, Jeffrey Rush doing the intro now. Previously, the boom was like Peter Pan. All of a sudden, like, they just diverted your attention well enough that as soon as the pirate scene started, you're like, "What the fuck? There's a big ship here."
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why the boom was so good.
Magic.
I think they should bring the boom back. We could play a little bit of the audio. Like, here's the original transition when Mickey says, "What's going on?" It goes to Peter Pan. The lights all go out, and then you just hear this boom. Let's play that transition real quick. I just remember when I would watch this show as a kid, the boom, you could like feel it in your chest. Like you could actually feel the vibration of the cannon going off. And I remember there always being like a very audible, like, whoa, from the audience. Just because it's so jarring, and I wish they would bring it back. Anyways, I'm not going to keep harping on the past here, even though I am. I'm trying not to, but I do like the original version of Fantasmic better. Princess section, lovely.
True as it can be. Barely even friends, then somebody bends unexpected.
You know, it's very nice.
Here's the fun fact, though, for people: it's the same floats as the monkey section. They just turn the decorations around, and they put different characters on them.
But you know, it's a cool setup. Whenever princess couple is being highlighted, their float lights up in this really cool way, and then you hear the theme of that couple as they dance around. It's really lovely. Like, it's a very nice, peaceful thing. Even when I watch it now, look, I'm not like into like Disney princess films, but I could appreciate the art of it, and it's like, okay, this makes me feel very relaxed. It takes me back to childhood.
You're a little defensive about how much you are not into Disney princess films.
I'm really not into princess films.
As an audience, suspicious about how into princess films you might actually be, Ryan. So
I only have a couple dolls at home. What is it? But I never play with them.
Is it Merida? Is it Tiana? Like,
where do you go? An old phase of my life. They stay in the chest now. They only come out on very special occasions.
Yeah, I can't say I'm that into the princess films. However, is it Beauty and the Beast, Ariel, and then Tangled?
Tangled now.
Okay.
They also have Sleeping Beauty, and then they have now a section on stage where Aladdin and Jasmine are flying on the flying carpet, like an
That's
actual
right.
flying carpet, which is really cool. And then we get into a lot of mist.
So
A
much
whole lot of
mist. Just if you thought whatever how much ever mist you're thinking, it's not enough. There is more mist to be made. It is an insane amount of mist.
I love a misty river. It's pretty cool. Anyways, moving on here. Now we're getting into my favorite part of the show, which we're now transitioning into the nightmare section. Now, the current transition right now is Mickey transitions us into the nightmare. There's a mirror that comes up and it asks him, do you have the courage to go to a different realm?
Another realm I see, where powers untold, far greater than yours, may awaken.
And he basically takes the bait and he's like, I ain't no bitch. Sure, I'll do it. I'll go into the nightmare, and then immediately regrets it.
Dost thou have the courage?
I don't know about this.
Dare you look deeper?
Well, sure.
He goes, oh, I don't really know about this. I guess I'll do it.
I had this in my bag, but I guess I'll just say it now. Where the mirror comes up, like, why don't you like come into something to the tune of going into the deep dark part of her imagination? Well, I don't know about that. And then it says something to the tune of, well, how about now? And he's like, well, sure.
Yeah. And then he goes, I guess I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this. And then he ends up doing it. And then I think he actually explodes at this point. And it's really funny that the moment he realizes he's made the wrong choice, he goes, sure. And then he goes, uh-oh. and then he explodes. That part always makes me laugh. Just
Mickey's a real gem in this.
It's real relatable. You know how many times I've said uh-oh after I've made a bad decision? Like, I'm just like, uh-oh. And I feel like I'm exploding. I'm not actually. At least
Let's
my
not forget
therapist
when he
tells me
first
that.
shows up in the beginning of the show, he's also like, oh.
Yeah, he's really
Whoa.
he's really
Whoa.
boosting at the beginning of the show. He's really feeling himself.
He's
Just
stimming hard on stage. He's like, ah!
so getting a slice of humility pie here is actually pretty gratifying to watch him just go,
Yeah.
fuck. Damn. And then he explodes. Now we're getting into, I mean, like I said, I'm always much more of a dark person as opposed to the light, unfortunately. So I love this part of the show. There's some really banger lines. And also, I want to point out, after the show transitions into the nightmare portion, there's a part where the evil witch says, "Magic mirror on the wall, all of the forces of evil I call."
Magic mirror on the wall, all the forces of evil I call.
And then you just see all these villains kind of team up, and it made me realize this is like the first time I could think of in like major media anytime an Avengers team up has kind of happened
Before the Avengers.
because that was like kind of like the novel portion of this show, which is like, oh, it would be really cool to see all these characters who typically wouldn't know each other team up. Like, it's really interesting to see that Ursula knows Maleficent and the old witch from Snow White.
There
It's
was a
just
villain
kind of like this-
renaissance that kind of happened in the 90s.
Exactly.
Where villains became fun, villains became safe, and this was a total byproduct of that.
And this is the most, this is like the most plausible place for them to coexist.
Yeah, in a nightmare.
In Mickey's
Nightmare.
Nightmare.
In Mickey's Nightmare is
And
such
it's
a
like
cool setup.
It's so funny though. It's like the first episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. You know what I mean? Like they all walk in and they all have a line to say.
Yeah, it's really good. No, I love when Ursula goes, "Ooh, let's do it."
How exciting. Let's do it.
It's incredible. Like that entire villain sequence is so amazing. It's like the Suicide Squad.
I'm wondering if they took inspiration from one of the original like concepts for what they wanted to do for a nighttime show here, the River Haunt. I wonder if this is kind of like a throwback to some of that, where they wanted to bring the horror elements back.
No, it's just cool that they leaned into the horror, and there's just banger, like really just fucking cold lines here. Like the first part, there's the when the Wicked Witch goes, "I'll turn that little mouse's dream into a nightmare Fantasmic," and then the mirror says, "You have the power," and then all of the villains start to chime in to control his mind, which is like, when you're seeing this as a kid and you're just seeing all these villains being like, we're gonna like control Mickey Mouse's mind and just fuck shit up,
it's the deep state.
It's crazy. It's an insane premise. I'm honestly surprised it got greenlit. Like, thinking of it, early 90s.
They bring that one villain that like is not like barely anyone knows about anymore, but it's that big like it looks like a massive gargoyle. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's from Fantasia, so I mean, like he's like, I feel like he's like that homage back to that original, like that whole like, you know, and he's like evil incarnate in the show. He's also got nipples. I just want to say it's one of the few characters that Disney animated with nipples. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I usually clock nipples, and I didn't see them nipples. I'll have to check them out.
No nipples.
I'll be on nipple watch and curtain watch the next time I see the Fantasmic 3.0.
And it makes sense because Fantasia was one of the original ideas where they're just thinking of straight up just doing orchestra set to like Fantasia.
It's
like,
incredible.
On, so.
Speaking of the orchestra, the score for when the dragon is transforming over on the mist screens, spellbinding stuff. And then like, you know, you have like also like the little like if you're sitting in certain parts of the rivers of America, particularly near pirates, there's speakers that play the little ghouls and goblin noises, like the if you're sitting there, it's really loud and it's kind of terrifying because there's speakers all around, but there's one certain stack of speakers that's responsible for playing these little ghoul and goblin noises, which is fairly fun. And then once again, another cold line, which I said at the beginning of the show. Now you'll deal with me and all the powers of my imagination.
No, you will deal with me and all the powers of my imagination.
And then I believe in the original show, after she said that, she would cast a spell at Mickey and he'd go, "Oh no!" and then get blasted and he just disappears. And you're like, Jesus Christ, is he dead? I think now, actually, he just kind of takes the blast like a champ and just stands there.
Yeah, because he's brave little Taylor at that point, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the dragon, spectacular, or it was spectacular before it exploded. And you know, the dragon, even in Disney World,
it could be
still
back.
Spectacular. I don't think so, man. There's no way.
They're doing very well.
I thought they said they're not bringing it back.
That's what they said. Yeah.
But yeah, I love surprises.
It was never working well.
When have we ever believed anything Disney said? When has anything Disney said they're ever going to do actually happen? You know, like, so I mean, like, you know.
Wait, are you saying you're not taking all the D23 announcements at face value every single time?
Yep. Byron, not only am I saying I'm not taking them at face value, I'm also not paying to go be told things that aren't going to happen.
No,
I know you produced a really well thought out video on that recently.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
Also, God, I hope they don't. God, if they for some reason, I don't know why this popped into my head. They're not going to do this, but if they put a Na'vi in the new Fantasmic 3.0, I'm going to kill somebody.
I would love that. I would love
just
that.
a Na'vi section.
If there was like a big like oh my gosh, like the Millennial Parade, like the Millennial Parade, like big you know, human figures. You know what I'm talking about from Epcot?
Yeah.
Bring out a couple of those like in the flower section, and they're like just dancing around the glowing flower.
I might be on board.
Yellow Shoes, call me. I've got a good plan. We're gonna work this out.
But the thing is, they're wedging in. Oh, we'll save this for the bad. Okay. Anyways, and then we have the Rivers of America on fire. Really metal stuff here. Mickey's classic little one-liner. It's like an action trope. Like he gets his own Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of like chill out when like he hits someone with like a freeze gun. I think the line is something along the lines of, "But you think you're so big and powerful, but this is my dream." And then he blasts her with his sword.
You may think you're so powerful. Well, this is my dream.
And I have to say, by this point, I'm so in, even though the line is goofy, that I'm like, yeah, that's right. It's our dream.
Yeah. Oh, 100% I'm bought in. 100%. And this is where the screen projections, like the projection mapping is good because like Murphy would get like electrified. You know what I mean? It was
so
cool.
Good.
The
so
Fantasmic
good.
2.0 was cool. I like that.
No, it was incredible. And then even like when the dragon would die there, when it was working at least, when it would be dying, it would crane its neck up, like, and its head would be facing the sky and it would be kind of wiggling like in pain. And a little ball of fire would come out of its mouth as it was dying. So cool.
Great storytelling.
This animatronic, when it was firing on all cylinders, quite literally, it was it was incredible. Most of the time, though, it was not.
Were you at the
that's why-
D23 where they had the old head on display at the archive?
Oh, that's awesome. Like, you mean the old cherry picker head?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
it's like the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. It's like this huge piece of like fiberglass. It's like painted.
Weird. I would
painted like it's huge. It's huge.
A beetle, not like a bus.
It's just the shell. It's just like the shell of like the top of its jaw. It wasn't the
I
whole
see.
head.
Oh,
it was just
okay, I
like
was about to
it was like
say.
the top plate.
Yeah, because that head is huge. Moving on here, I still get chills when I hear that little flute come after. Like, dragon dies, cuts to black, and you hear that like. It's like a little flute. It's like a little flute noise. It's so good. And then the transitions in the show, just in general, are incredible. But especially this one, that kind of, I like that. And even now in the updated version, after the evil's been vanquished, Murphy's dead. They let that moment of victory just sit in silence with just this little flute playing for, I want to say, a good 10 to 15 seconds of just dark. So you could kind of feel.
And
like,
that's Lizzo playing the flute, which is crazy.
There's a fun fact.
That's a fun fact. No, I just like that they let that moment sizzle, because a lot of theme park shows, it's like, quick, let's get to the next scene. Where in this one, they actually let you kind of sit in that moment of like, oh, damn, it's over. Thank God. And then you see the Mark Twain round the corner. It's just a really well-timed moment. It's one of my favorite moments in theme parks, is when you see that Mark Twain first round the corner and then the theme starts to pick up.
Those
and then you get the Avengers. And yeah, the windmill fireworks.
It's literally like Doctor Strange portals, if you think about it. It is the moment.
It is.
Yeah.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? And all the characters come through the portals. They could just put that music in, and I don't think I'd be that upset if there was just a little hint of that Avengers.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, this is also the first instance of the Avengers. Before we have the Suicide Squad, now we have the Avengers. The Mark Twain comes around the corner, and you see every hero from every Disney movie you could possibly think of doing the little funny little tissue dance.
Does everyone remember earlier when Ryan's like, how could they possibly have 300 costumes in this show?
That's true. That is true.
Found him.
It's insane.
Found him.
I just remember as a kid, the overload in my brain as a kid, seeing this Mark Twain round the bend with all of like my favorite guys on there. I see Goofy on there. I'm like, what's he been doing this whole time? Just cowering. And then like, Mickey did it. Yay. It's a really fun moment. And the song. Now the song is really at full blast here. It's just a banger. We got the little horns. We have that choir section that coincides with the pinwheel fireworks. We could play a little bit of that right now. That whole section's it's got me shouting like Ric Flair. I'm out there just like, woo! This is fucking amazing. And the crescendo to Mickey. There's the theme is just slowly ramping, and then it hits with this firework blast at the top of Tom Sawyer Island. Mickey's revealed. Every single time that moment happens, I get chills, which is it's an incredible moment, and it brings me right back to being a kid in the pool with my brother. It's so good. And then you just see him conduct the fireworks and the lights. It's just like the cartoon in sorcerer garb. Does it get any better than that in terms of just like how to end a show by paying off the score that you set up in the beginning? It's just so goddamn
really, it's
good.
it's such a great button. And also there's like rapid fire Mickeys. It's like Mickey.
Yeah,
like,
all over the place.
It's crazy. It's like Mario jumping through green tubes. It's wild.
Yeah, and then you have the fireworks hit again at the top, and now he's at the bottom of the stage.
Some imagination, huh?
He hits you with the iconic "some imagination, huh" line.
And then that last note, he disappears, right?
He disappears, but then now they actually have a little right before he says that line. I think they have a little, just like 2 to 3 second bit of the Sorcerer's Flute theme, like that, and then he disappears, which is so good. It's just a well constructed show. It's so goddamn amazing. I'm really excited for it to come back. That's all my goods. Did I miss any? Do you guys want to add any goods in there?
Yeah, you hit them all. It's so great.
Now we're gonna move to some bads, and then I can see Dan tensing.
Let's go. I'm gonna fight you on all of them.
Hey, look, I don't think you're gonna fight me on some of these because I do. Okay. First bad. I like the old show better. I hate to say it. It's already kind of come in. It's a better show, I think.
I thought
think
that this was just a program in worship of the original show, and we're not even really going to acknowledge it.
No, the thing is, like, I think the new show for the most part is very similar, but like, I just think it goes a little too far in some things. One of the things I don't like is they are wedging in just random World of Color-esque show scenes. Like, for instance, the first, like, we'll go over one transition. The new show goes from that flower scene, and then all of a sudden, this flower scene, there's a beautiful kind of orchestration playing. It's gentle. And then it just smash cuts into the opening note of Circle of Life of Lion King as the screen comes up. And you're just kind of like, wait, what? What does that have to do with anything? It's just jarring. And then suddenly now there's a snake on stage, and then there's, and then the monkeys float out to a mashup of Lion King and Jungle Book music.
You need that jarring moment, all right? It's 9:15 at night. You have been here since 8 a.m.
You really don't.
Your dogs are barking. You've got way too much sweat in all your cracks. You're like, you are done. And
your cracks.
And short of the boom from the pirate ship, they got to do something now. And it's the Lion King opening sequence.
Yeah, but the old show, in that same kind of portion of the show, goes from the flower scene, then morphs into like the serenity of like this original score that then reveals the snake, and then you have like the little. I used to love the Dancing Monkeys score. It was like the and there was, now it's just like they're dancing to a mashup. It's just strange. And then that then goes into the Pink Elephants on Parade, and then transitions into a really cool Pinocchio kind of dancing on stage scene, which is like these really fun little puppets that are like practical. And then lights go out as Mickey goes down a drain. Like, I just think like for the most part, that's demonstrative of how the show used to be threaded a little bit better scene to scene. Whereas now it feels like the little sections in between show scenes, they kind of just wedge in weird cutscenes.
Yeah, they George Lucased it. They went back in and did like a couple little tweaks here and there. Oh, we're gonna make it better. It's like, did it make it
better? I don't know if it needed all of a sudden.
Go over to Hollywood Studios and put your Lion King or what. Go do like this belongs in a museum. This original score.
Well, because they added a whole like what they call like a hero sequence, where it's like, oh, like you remember Moana, right? That came out like somewhat recently-ish. Oh, how about Frozen? Here, this one came out.
I just don't need it. I like the idea of an original story being told with original score, and you're going, when needed, you're putting in some Disney like movie references that are tasteful and still are playing within the world. Now they're just kind of like, all of a sudden we're listening to Circle of Life and I Want to Be Like You mashup.
Yeah.
It's strange. I just don't really enjoy it.
Yeah. Luckily they didn't dive into it completely, because there's some other shows in recent years where they've like really just done like a medley of, oh, like this is that song you like, here you go, like here's a remix.
They did like a half measure enough though that it's annoying, but it's not like offensive, like, because like we keep that in World of Color. I love World of Color for that. Like, that's a show that's basically
100%. And Ryan, your argument is so true, because the original, and I didn't even think about it until just now, that the original Fantasmic was like a reflection of the park. Peter Pan, Pinocchio. It's like the rides that are like, it's not even just that I'm like, it's an immersive experience that just springs out of nowhere at the park, but it's also referencing and calling back experiences I had in the park. And now, like, I didn't see the Lion King today at Disneyland. You know what I mean? So like, why is the Lion King there? Like, I would give it more credit if it wants to throw in Tiana or something, like, sure, by all means, but don't, to your point entirely, like, make it be about where I am and not like the brand in its entirety.
No, exactly. I mean, I wrote down, basically, I think the old show focused on what imagery works best together and wasn't afraid to go as abstract, whereas the new show focuses more on what the hits they think the audience wants to see.
Yeah.
And which is a lot like World of Color, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I just prefer the old show more. The new show still has merit.
Now that's what I call Fantasmic.
Yeah, exactly. They've turned it into, now that's what I call Fantasmic for grandma out there. But the thing is, like, I'm sure I'm probably speaking to a minority of park folk that think this. I'm sure to a unsuspecting modern day audience, they're like tapping their toes and snapping their fingers to like the mashup. They're loving it. Which is why they're adding like dubstep to like, the fireworks show and stuff like that. I get it. They have to keep with modern stuff. I just think sometimes things are classics for a reason. I already mentioned I like Peter Pan's section better. I just think it's a better fit for the show. I also think like just like the show stopping scenes of Peter Pan flying work better on the ship, where there's not really anything that kind of matches that in the current pirate scene. The current pirate scene is just very much all one of the same thing for the
yeah,
entirety
it's very
of the fight.
weird. It's like Jack is horny, but there's also zombies, and there's the compass, and there's also still zombies, but yet she's empowered. It's so weird. It's like, what's going on this boat, guys?
There's not a lot of clarity on what the story is in the current pirate section. It's just a bunch of weird fighting.
And I would rather a Treasure Planet sequence over like pirates. You know what I mean? Like at this point, if that's what we're going to do, if it's just going to be colorful, bright, glowing things, then like give me that.
Once again, I get why they did it. I just think the story made a little more sense with the Peter Pan thing, and there was more moments that broke it up. Anyways, next bad, I like the transition into the nightmare sequence, the nightmare portion of the show, in the old show better. But right now, it's Mickey saying like, oh, or do you have the courage to go into this other realm? Which is, I could get why some people would like that more, because it's him choosing, it's his dream, it's his nightmare. Maybe that makes a little more sense. But before, it started with the Queen being on the stage, and then she would transform. And that felt a little bit more substantial than the Mickey just talking to a mist screen.
It is. It was so cool. That transformation was really great, and it was practical. You know what I mean? To like see like a person be like one evil character and flip into another evil character. And then what was so cool is like if Murphy had to go into like C mode, like then that witch had her own choreography. If she was just stuck on stage and nothing happened, and then that witch could battle Mickey if you got like that rare opportunity. Like it was cool. It was more flexible. It was more versatile. And this feels more sterile. It's just like, oh yeah, sure. If nothing's working, just flip the screen on. Just play it.
It also feels more clean, I guess, now in a not as satisfying way. It's like, okay, it's Mickey's dream. He decides to go into the nightmare. I could see the cleanness of that. Whereas before, it gave the villains a motive. Like there's a part where like the mirror says, in Mickey's dream, beauty and love will always survive. And then the witch goes, fuck that. I don't want that. So she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to transform into a dragon. We're going to mess this whole thing up right now. And then all the villains get together and like, no, that's not how it's going to go. I like the idea that even like in somebody's dream, there are other villainous characters that have autonomy, that like could have their own agenda, as opposed to just being Mickey's story through and through. I could see why some people would prefer the Mickey story through and through, but I just liked when the villains had a little more autonomy.
Scarier that way too.
It's scarier that way too. Maybe that's why they did it. It's a little less scary now, which, I get it. And then the last bad I have here, the Mickey noises now that they put in Fantasmic 2.0. I could do without them. I could do without them.
Whoa.
It's a little weird.
Whoa.
Well, all I picture when it's happening now, because he's doing this at the beginning of the show, all I picture is just some actor in a VO booth going, oh, yeah, wow.
Right.
Oh, yeah, oh. And like before, it was just, he was silent. He was doing the movements. You're focusing on the orchestration and the visuals. Now it's just like, his mouth's not even moving, so it's even weirder.
Yeah, also, why doesn't he have a talking head?
If you're going to give him the noises, yeah.
Right, you don't have it now. I mean, I get that Disneyland just doesn't have it, period, which is fine, whatever. But just like, come on, like of all things. And there aren't a lot of articulated characters in that show that are talking. So it's not like the Beast would need to be articulated like for his float, or like Buzz and Woody would need to be articulated on the boat. Like it's just really the Mickey of it all. That like, why? Where is it, guys?
They turned the Mickey knob up just 5 to 10 notches a little too high for me.
Yeah, because he's in a huge arena, so he becomes very like insane.
Yeah. The motions and the music do that though. We don't need to hear him be impressed with himself.
No, exactly. It's weird because like before when I would show this show to people who aren't Disney folks, in the original old version when he would just do the movements and he wouldn't make these goofy little noises, there was no part of me that was a little embarrassed, like, okay, this is a real show. There's Mickey Mouse on stage, but like, look at all the orchestration and the lights. Now, when I show people this show, and the first thing they hear is him going, oh, when he's like doing all those noises, it's a little goofy.
Yeah, it is goofy. You're so right.
I kind of wish it was gone. I hope they change that in the new one, so we don't know. And then I'll actually have one more bad, which is R.I.P. Murphy. I don't know if even that's a bad. Just rest in peace. Or pieces in his case.
Hey, that whole parade float burnt down in Disney World. That whole dragon burnt to a crisp. By and large, huge chunk of it burnt up. And it came back.
You are far more optimistic than me. There's no fucking fight.
They love Disneyland. And what I could imagine, here's what I imagine, boys. We're sitting in the conference room. Murphy's burnt to a crisp. What do we do? What do we say? All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring back classic Fantasmic. Peter Pan's coming back. We're going to bring back the crane. We're going to do the thing. We're going to bring back old, and you guys are going to love it. It's going to be old Fantasmic while we regroup, but we don't say Big Murphy's like gone forever. We don't ever say that he's gone forever.
They have kind of said that he's not coming back, though, in not so many words.
Yeah, but Joe Brody also said he was fixing the Yeti, and that didn't happen either. So, I mean, like, can you trust anyone? Have you seen concept art lately that they release? It looks nothing like what they build. All right? I don't trust anyone.
It's fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, that's an optimistic way to twist that, though. Normally, it's like we don't get what they're saying.
That's a rare instance, too. I'm not normally
way.
doing that. Yeah, normally it's a twist negative. So.
Yeah. Anyways, that does it for the good and the bad, unless you guys have more bads you want to discuss.
Just how your legs fall asleep when you're sitting, like, you know, like when you get a spot and like you're like, I got a spot, but I'm gonna have to camp out here for like 15, 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, if you're not on a chair,
and then finally, like everyone stands up and you stand up, but then you fall backwards into a crowd of people and with an unintentional trust fall. You know, like my God, you know
exactly what you're talking about.
R.I.P. those pins and needles, man.
Yeah, you've been sitting on the ground for an hour reserving your spot.
Yeah, I will say that the whole crowd control issue would be a bad, I guess, for
That's a
Disneyland
good
for
point.
me.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're not watching Fantasmic, I also feel like I don't feel like Disneyland, even when it was running, had as many shows as Disney World's. But I guess that is the benefit, you know, and this is one of the reasons why.
No, Disneyland would have 9 and 10:30.
Yeah, they did. They did an amphitheater for a reason at Disney World, and one of the big reasons was that they didn't want to run into the same crowd control issues.
Yeah, because it's a nightmare.
Yeah, and they literally have plumbing built into they have plumbing built into the arena that they built for Hollywood Studios so that it can flush out guests to the exit. Like, you know, like essentially like when they exit, there's like a GTFO, you know, corner that you could go right to, and it puts you right out to the entrance and you could leave the park. Like if you don't want, if it's not an early show.
Let's move into the world-class test now. But before we do that, let's once again thank our sponsors. And we are back. This is the world-class test. This is a rubric of 10 tests painstakingly devised by Byron and myself to determine if an attraction is world-class. To receive the highly coveted world-class pass, the attraction must pass 7 out of 10 tests. A score of 6 out of 10 leaves the attraction up for debate for a world-class pass standing. And anything lower than 6 out of 10 is an automatic fail.
It's just a home run. Do we even need to go through these? I mean, I'm pretty sure
you would think.
They pass them all flying colors. This is an icon. Send it to the Hall of Fame.
We got to see, because like it's always interesting when you run these through this test, because you might be surprised by some things. And it's a show, so it's a little different. Okay. First test, the average tourist test. Oh, here we go. Would the average tourist have a hard time getting on this ride? Is there a long wait? Is there a complicated queue system? And in the case of Fantasmic, this question is more, would an average tourist have a hard time watching this show?
I don't think so. I don't.
You got to get there pretty early.
You got to get there pretty early in Disneyland to get a good spot.
And you know what? You guys have ragged so much on Disney World's version, and you know what? I have not experienced it as many times as Disneyland, but I gotta say it is pretty damn easy to experience it there. I love being able to sit down.
You have a return time. Prior. Yeah, that's true.
You know, you're pretty much, if you get there like 20 to 30 minutes before, you're guaranteed a good view. I don't think there's like an awful seat in the house.
And what's nice though is that usually there's 2 shows. So if a tourist like kind of gets caught up into it all, it's like they kind of get to see it from a distance or from the side. They always have the opportunity to like reinvest. I think it's a very accessible show. And also it just unfolds around you. Like before you know it, like it's happening and you're like, what's going on? Why are people gathering around? It be like people start, you know, I dig the communal vibe of it at Disneyland.
That's true.
That is true. Disneyland's, I numerous times have I found myself like just happening to walk across where Rivers of America is and like, oh, let me sit here walk like a little while and catch some Fantasmic.
Yeah, that's right. You can kind of just like saddle up somewhere and get behind a group of people that are already watching. So I guess you could kind of walk into it, in which case that would suggest it's somewhat easy to see.
Boom!
It barely passes in Disneyland and Disney World. It passes pretty easily. So I think overall it's a pass. All right, that's 1 for 1. Moving on to the Leslie Stahl test. Test number 2. Would you be willing to wait 60 minutes for this attraction if you've already been on it at least once? Or if everything in the park was 60 minutes, would you wait for this? Would you wait 60 minutes for your spot for Fantasmic?
Yeah, I have.
I have too, so I would.
If you want a good view, you might have to.
Yeah, you're going to have to, usually.
For Disneyland's at least, yeah.
In Disney World, you're probably not waiting that long, but you're waiting at least 30.
Yeah.
And that's not counting the time outside. That
you're just be wealthy and be at Club 33 and have a great view.
That's true.
There you go. But then what? It's like almost a half-hour show. So, you know, wait to experience ratio, not too bad.
Huge. Great ratio, Byron. Great point. All right, check. That's great. World class, 2 for 2.
2 for 2. Moving on. Test number 3, the smartphone test. Does the queue of this ride have enough to keep you off of your phone? There's no queue for this, so I don't know what we're going to do for this one.
Yeah, it's called Community. It's called your brethren. It's called Mankind. It's called you're sitting there, your legs are falling asleep. You look over to your left, they've got turning red gibbets on their crock. You look over to your right, this guy's got a Haunted Mansion magic band. You're surrounded by your people. You're like, hello, people. Let us talk about our great communal religion that we now worship. That is, oh, holy Walt.
Let me look. Because I think we actually adjusted something for Waterworld, and I'm gonna just take a quick little gander over there because this. I don't know.
Didn't Waterworld we worked it in somehow because the performers before the show started were so entertaining, so we were counting that.
We'll see. Let's see. No, we did not change anything for Waterworld.
Anyways, I call this a fail. There's nothing going on like leading up to the show.
That's true. If you want to call the queue, just you sitting
There's
there
nothing
waiting.
going on. Lights are crawling out of the ground massively.
No,
you're watching them up on
no,
you're watching like 6 guys wearing all blacks and headphones, like up on stage stomping on things and like shaking things, making sure everything's moving. You get to overhear people say the most absurd shit you've ever heard in your entire life. Like
this is very like theme park.
No
this is very
way.
Dan. This is theme park sicko specific. You're talking here. No, I think for
everyone knows that when you're holding a spot for Fantasmic or the fireworks for that matter, it is a brutal sit and wait. Especially like if you are like trying to, like if you're sitting on a spot that doesn't have like a ledge or something and you just have to sit on the concrete, your ass is falling asleep instantly. It's not a fun time. They don't have like a barge come out that plays like little pre-show music. They don't play any pre-show music because it's still in the middle of
Ryan. Weren't you just earlier arguing, my dear friend, about the power of imagination and about how less is more, less is more, and how this show and how the anticipation of you going to see the big thing that you're here and that you love and your mind, Ryan, is swirling with the visions of all the great things to come. Weren't you just saying it, Ryan?
I can't
Pass. Yes. Check. Number 4.
Come along for the journey. Even the one in Walt Disney World, you're just sitting there. I remember
that's why you have to get a dining package at Disney World.
I brought a little mini TV with me the last time I saw the Walt Disney World version, and I watched the Laker game.
You brought a mini TV?
That's right. It was the playoffs. We were playing the Celtics. It was the finals.
Anyways, it's not a phone.
Not a phone. That's true. Anyways, I'm gonna fail this, Byron.
I'm gonna fail it as well.
Okay, Dan passes it, but that's still
disgrace.
He's overruled.
I think the Rivers of America gives obviously Disneyland an edge in this.
If they let you fish, in the river, would you be into
it? Or Animal Crossing. 2 for 3. Moving over to test number 4, the Tony Stark test. How innovative is this attraction? Does it push theme park tech forward?
Oh yeah, it's not just pushing it forward; it's burning it down.
It's still the standard, I feel like.
Yeah, I think this changed how people view theme park shows, honestly. I think before they were kind of like cute, and this made them into like, oh, this could be a full-scale production.
And it's not the first show to use a lot of the technology, but to integrate them all and have them all work together, there still, I don't think, is anything like it.
I agree.
And it's still the bar in that regard. So
and much like Tony Stark, the thing falls apart all the time. And, we're always moving forward.
That's true. They definitely, when he was working, when Murphy was working, it was a spectacle.
And that was what Disney's largest animatronic.
To that point, yes. That's 3 for 4, by the way. Test number 5, the Hollywood test. Can this attraction be adapted for the silver screen? Does it have a comprehensible story? Yes.
Absolutely. I think it would make an incredible movie, actually.
I actually think it would make a very good movie now, too. It actually fits within the zeitgeist of today's modern, like, I guess, unfortunately, everything now is team-ups, but this was the first show to do it.
The multiverse of it all.
And this is, like, I guess, the first kind of multiverse show, and I feel like if this was made into a movie, it would be a fantastic movie, because there hasn't really been a movie with Mickey as, like, the titular character that is driving things forward, but treating him like Captain America is fun.
Super fun.
I think this is a pass.
Pass.
Easy pass. 4 for 5. Moving on to test number 6. The Simpson test. How likely is this to be replaced with something new? Much like The Simpsons replaced Back to the Future.
I think very unlikely because the infrastructure exists. It will always exist. Like they just that corner of the park is the infrastructure of Fantasmic. It's like saying, well, the ball's empty now at Epcot. Well, I guess we're just not going to do anything with it. You know what I mean?
That's true. That is true. No, it's I believe they built the stage for this show, like that portion of Tom Sawyer's Island. So unless they were willing to kind of deconstruct that, I don't think I could see this going anywhere, because Disneyland desperately needs a nighttime show other than the fireworks, in my opinion.
100%.
And this always is going to fill that box.
And they sell merch for Fantasmic.
Oh, they do?
Like the reason why they changed, like one of the reasons why they changed the name from like what was
I have a
just, like,
jacket.
Imagination at one point was because they wanted something they could trademark and sell.
I have a jacket.
It's
from it.
iconic.
Great.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
it's iconic. They like you said, they built the stage for it, and I feel like if they were to have gotten rid of it, they had their opportunities. They've had long hiatuses.
100%.
Murphy goes down. You think we're gonna reimagine, we're gonna bring something else new. Disney World, I could see that amphitheater could get traded out with something that's original. That would actually be really neat. Just kind of like what Tokyo Disney Sea did.
How would you feel though
recently.
if like they rewrote the show in a way that, like, let's say we leaned into the Wish of it all, God forbid, and like Maleficent's replaced with Magnifico, and it becomes like a big like screen villain. You know what I mean? Because the Magic Mirror is canonically now, Jesus Christ, Magnifico from Wish. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, what are we supposed to do with that except expand on he's the main character in a big way, the Magic Mirror in this story. Like, how would you feel if they did something like that?
I guess, if they changed enough of the show that it kind of was a pale imitation of what it once was, I just don't think they would. I mean, I'm hopeful that they wouldn't, but I do think the crux, like the main like spine of the show, will always stay the same, even with all like the Fantasmic 2.0 stuff.
And
like
it could say the same with Magnifico. He could literally serve the same purpose. You know, he's there, he rises up, then a bunch of like drone balls come up as wishes or whatever, and Osh is there. Or I don't know. Geez, we could figure out something. You know what I mean?
They probably will do something with drones, by the way, for this show, for Fantasmic 3.0.
100%.
But no, I think this is always going to stay. I think this is a pass. Pass
well,
for you guys?
looking good.
Pass. I think even if they make changes, it's Fantasmic is going to stay Fantasmic, at least at Disneyland.
Ooh.
5 for 6. Moving on to test number 7, the signature moment test. Can this ride or this show hold its own without its signature moment? Is it a one-trick pony? I think it can. We've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
We've seen the dragon go down, and we've seen it in B mode.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. You think that the dragon's the moment?
I think most people would say that the animatronic
What's the
dragon
moment?
was.
Byron, what's the moment for you in Fantasmic?
I don't know if that's mine, but that's how I think people would see it.
Okay, so what is your moment then?
I think my moment would be Mickey appearing at the end.
Appearing, yeah, 100%. Yeah. When I saw it once and I didn't realize that part of the mechanism had been broken, and I was there. I think it was for the last D23, and I saw it. I was out there and Mickey didn't pop up, and I felt like wounded. I was like, I just stood here for 26 goddamn minutes and Mickey did not pop up on the top of the shack. I was infuriated.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, do you think the show is inherently worse when that's not there though?
It's inherently worse when it hits me at the end unexpectedly. Yes. It's the Carlisle getting his head ripped off. I was like, oh, the horror.
That might be a fail then for you then, is what I'm getting at.
Sure, it might be a fail. You're right. You're right. It might be a fail.
I think there's enough in the rest of the show for it not to be a fail.
Because even when that, maybe that's not the signature moment for me. Because every time I'm like usually watching it, it's like, oh, this show kicks ass, or this show kicks ass, and then Mickey does that, and you're like, oh fuck, that's right.
Yeah.
And it's not like the
dragon,
show is
full of so many good moments.
Setting the the rivers of America ablaze. That's usually what I'm like anticipating, and then you get hit with that, and then your heart just feels really full as the Steamboat Willie like makes its way around
the Mark
corner.
Twain or the Steamboat Willie. But actually, that's a good point, because I have seen a version of this show when the Mark Twain was under renovation, and all the people come out on stage instead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
And that was a little weird, but I didn't like it as much. But it didn't ruin the show. I wasn't like upset that I had watched the show. So there's so many things happening that, like, if one of them, like even 100%. The Peter Pan, like the ship is gone, it's fine.
The dragon goes down. Like, yeah, it's weird if there's like a 45-foot tall Maleficent lady, but I still think it's a really good show.
I'm gonna pass it.
It's a pass. It's definitely a pass.
Dan, are you passing it?
I'm just saying, I'm gonna pass it, but I'm saying because David Copperfield's allowed to like miss a trick every once in a while. I guess I'll say, but
I think David Copperfield misses a lot of tricks. I think that guy's not a good magician.
And because like once again, Mickey doesn't appear atop a shack at the Disney World version. And like, honestly, the worst part to me for the Disney World version, as much as you guys want to shit on it, is like, if the Disneyland version didn't exist and I went and saw the Disney World version, I'd still think it's a really kick-ass show. The only thing that really taints it for me is that it pales in comparison to the setting that Disneyland built for it.
I think it's a kick-ass show too without the kick.
I got it.
Let's move on.
I don't know what I was supposed to do there.
Let's move on to the final
None of us
three.
did.
Let's move on to the final 3 tests of the world-class test. We're at 6 out of 7. Let's see the fate of this show. We're already in debate land. But before we do that, let's once again have a word from our sponsors to thank them. And we are back. Let's get into the last 3 tests. We're at 6 out of 7. Let's see if we could get this baby over to world-class territory. Test number 8, the premature detraculation test will never not be embarrassing. Does this show finish too soon? No way. It is perfectly paced, the perfect length. I mean, it's very, very, very satisfying.
Yeah.
Easy pass.
It's the approximate length of an unedited episode of Seinfeld. It's great.
No, it delivers. That's a pass all around. 7 out of 8. That is now a world-class show.
We did it, boys.
Officially.
Pack it up.
No, we got to see how high it can climb.
Let all acquaintance be forgot.
I gotta pad those stats.
Do you remember how high Waterworld was?
It got a 9 out of 10.
Oh, so it's going to probably tie it then. All right, moving on to test number 9, the exit hall test. Do you see people be physically excited walking away from the show? Do they have that bounce in their step?
Absolutely. People are kissing their wives, like children are, being handed their high school diplomas. It's incredible.
It's an amazing. Everyone is very, very happy.
Yeah, you spend a whole day going on all these experiences around Disneyland, all to like huddle together, like in somewhat of an intimate setting to basically celebrate all the stuff you experienced through an original story.
Yeah.
And then it just has this explosive ending, and you're just like, in your day at Disneyland is done. Like,
dude, that's actually the point I was about to make. That I love this show when I'm not even watching it, and the reason is because people are so satisfied with their day after they watch this show that they just leave. And I know that once Fantasmic starts at 9, I have from 9 to 12 a.m. to just go on a rampage of rides.
Enjoy the parks.
Because,
gosh,
because
absolutely.
people are watching Fantasmic, then they're watching the fireworks, and then there's another Fantasmic at 10:30. So I know if I'm not watching Fantasmic that night, oh boy, I'm gonna have a murderer's row of rides lined up, and it's fantastic. So that's an indicator of a great pass for this, because people are like, I've had enough. I'm perfectly satisfied. There's no reason to stay at the table at the casino. I'm gonna take my money and I'm gonna go home. Because I'm very happy.
I'd say it's the perfect ending for anyone that's going to Disneyland
for
the first time.
For me too. If like I usually do end up kind of being like, oh, that's not true. After I see Fantasmic, I'm so jazzed. It's like it's time to get on some rides. But normal people are like,
hands are rubbing again.
Let's get to the hotel. That's 8 for 9, by the way. All right, moving on to test number 10. This is the fine wine test. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Has this show aged well? Has your opinion of the show appreciated or depreciated since your first experience? Or if it's a new show, do you believe it will age well? This is very tough, because I'm going to be honest. I think it has depreciated. That's only because of the changes. Had it stayed the same, it probably would have continued to appreciate in my mind. That's not to say that they can't change things for the positive in the next iteration. But as it stands now, I would say it has depreciated.
I agree. However, it has appreciated for me in the sense that I still don't think there's any nighttime show at a theme park that is this good.
Yeah, I think that the depreciation that you're feeling is splitting hairs because you're being conditioned to compare, because there's like 3 other versions of Fantasmic that exist. And and if it instead was just framed as, if you put Disneyland in a bubble, the fact that it is changing is just like a part of its nature. You know what I mean? Every once in a while they close Peter Pan to repaint the Native American faces in there, they have to update things every once in a while, even though it makes it dirty and weird sometimes, it's still the same goodness, and you still get all the goodness. Pass.
Is it a pass for you, Byron?
I don't know.
Byron.
It's a fail for me, I think. I think I'm going to fail it, and it's a pass for Dan, so it comes down to you.
One day you'll have children and your heart will reignite for the show. That's all I'll say.
That's a good point.
I don't know, because it's also tough because I follow the story so much better than I did when I was an 8-year-old first experiencing it.
Also, I want to say really quick that I love both of you talking about your first impressions, because I don't know if you intentionally did this or not, or realized you did it, but you both talked about like the dynamic of you and your parents and like how tired you were. And you have this very specific memory of the fact that like it was late in the day, you should be tired, but you were like rallying for this thing. It's like a core memory for you guys, both of you. You both said it like specifically. And like the idea that it was scary, but you had your parents. And so like it wasn't scary, but it was, and it allowed you to like feel a whole range of emotions as a child that really informed your experiences at the park.
He's playing on your heartstrings. He's playing on your heartstrings.
Out of respect for this, I can't wait for the day that I get to be that parent and I get to be super stoked at 10 p.m. or whatever the fuck time it is.
Right.
So yes, I will give it a pass.
It's the circle of life.
Oh God.
And it rules us all.
I stick to my guns. That's a pass. That's
all right, and I also
10.
would like to acknowledge that the fact that it wasn't 10 for 10 is that Ryan also wouldn't allow his childlike wonder to persist when we were queuing before of it. So it's the Mr. Grinch over there in the blue corner. And in red corner, my champion, Byron.
It does not. It does not pass the third test. It is 9 for 10. Congratulations to Fantasmic.
You're like that movie where babies can talk, but then when you get jaded, you can't hear babies talk anymore. You know what I'm talking about?
I am not jaded. I just don't think I want to sit on concrete for 60 minutes. That's crazy. I'll do it. I'm not going to be happy about it, though.
Get a BBL, man. Just go get one of those Brazilian butt lifts, and then everywhere you sit will be comfortable.
I was like, what is a BBL? Anyways, thank you for we're going to have to wrap this up. Oh my God. Thank you to Dan for coming on. Dan, when you catch your breath, is there if there's anything that you would like to plug for the audience while you're here, this would be the time.
Everyone come check me out on YouTube. I'm Disney Dan. I also have a new podcast starting up called Secret Basement Podcast, where you can come explore the weird thoughts I store away in my secret basement of my mind palace. And also at the end of April, I'm premiering on History Channel's How Disney Built America. So catch that
that's
series,
awesome, dude.
Because I'll be a talking head on that thing. So that'll be fun.
Dude, that's going to be great. When does that come out?
April 28th. Sunday, April 28th at 10 p.m. Eastern.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Incredible.
That sounds, I love those history specials when they cover like a theme park attraction. So
this is going to be great. It looks really, really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Oh, and you heard it here first. Dan's going to make a new video breaking his record on the amount of times he rode People Mover.
You bet. Actually, I'm
say I'm being serious.
I'm being serious in that I'm kind of talking to Guinness Book of World Records to try to figure that out. So let's put a pin on that and we'll figure that, because I'm 100% in on that. 57 times on that thing in one day. It was truly a life lived.
Anyways,
and thank you to the audience for listening.
That's true.
You still got a little bit of the drive left, but you're almost home. You got it. You got this.
Or
you're working out. You're pushing it hard. You've been grinding on the treadmill or whatever, and I'm so proud of you. You're doing a great job. Thanks for using those coupon codes. Thanks for loving these boys. Thanks for keeping everything alive, keeping it going. I hope you all sleep well. Tip your waitresses. I love you all. You all rock. God bless.
Everything he just said. And also, once again, like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. If you're watching this over on youtube.com/watcherpodcast. And if you're listening, rate the podcast 5 stars and subscribe. But that does it for us. That does it for this episode of FYA. Follow us on the socials at FYAPod on Instagram and Twitter. And then also, I'm at Ryan S. Bergara on Twitter, and then at Ryan Bergara across all other socials. Byron's at Byron A. Marin. And Dan, where could they follow you before we head out here?
Just everywhere you have a place that has a search bar that says Disney Dan, just type it in there. It's me. You can see my big old laughing face.
Incredible. Well, thank you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.